today we are going on a ride because we are going over 14 channel makers videos from 2023. These are 14 of my favorites and I really hope you enjoy them. So we're gonna actually play them all the way through. So put this on your TV while you are wrapping presents or setting up your Christmas tree or baking cookies. This next one is 5 ways to be better on camera, and it's really fun and creative. Also, I have a secret for you that I will tell you after this video.
Howdy everyone, Nate here. As you can see, I am in a car right now. Now, since the beginning of this channel, I've known that I wanted to push the boundaries on what is done on YouTube, and in this video, I'm hoping to do that again for you. So here's how to do it for your own content. And I thought as a fun way to do this, I would add a little uncomfortable meter on screen so that you can know how uncomfortable Nate is as he's recording each section of this video. Like I said, I wanted to go first and show you how I would go about doing it. Okay, so one of the first things you gotta come to grips with here, and one of the principles I feel like everybody needs to know is that at some point, I'm gonna open this window because it's a beautiful sunshiny day out here, but at some point we all have to get to the point where we're okay with our audience not liking what we're doing. Invariably, whatever we produce, our audience is not going to like what we do, and it's probably one of the things that I've struggled with the most here on this channel is just the knowledge that somebody could be observing what I'm doing, watching what I'm doing, and not actually like what I'm doing. Hey, I'm recording in here. And because it's something I've struggled so much with, I've actually gotten to the point where I write down branded statements, words that would describe my content, and make sure every time I produce a piece of content that it can fit within that window of content, so that when I do produce something, it does work. And the point here is people will think you're weird for what you're doing. No matter what you do, someone will think you're weird. And it's kind of built into what it is to share something with anyone in the world. Someone is going to disagree with what you're doing, and it's okay. Because the fact here is when you're intentional with the branding that you set for your presence in your videos, it's a good thing. It makes you more memorable, and people might think it's weird. In fact, sometimes the people closest to you might think it is weird. And in most cases, it's just simply a resistance to change. So I'm gonna move to another location, but if you want some homework on what I would recommend you do, if you find yourself with this resistance to change in your own content, take a video that you have recorded and not published yet, and share that with someone who doesn't know you very well. Just play it for them and say, hey, I got a video for you. Watch this video. What do you think of my video? And when you do that, it could be tempting to just watch your own video and think of all the cringy things that are happening within your video. But I'm going to encourage you to, instead of that, turn around and look at the person watching your video. How are they reacting? Because that ties right into this next thing I'm gonna show you. Okay, so I've snuck into a team meeting here. Let's see if my audio is at all usable here. Because the point I'm trying to make here is the more you expand yourself, like what you're able to do, push yourself to the extreme, and then you're more able, you have greater capacity to pull back and do more with, because you push further than anyone else, you're able to pull back and do more and feel more comfortable with where you are. In fact, when you push yourself to an extreme, a smaller amount actually feels more natural. So ways you can go about doing this is high energy versus low energy, like really loud versus really quiet, like what I'm doing right now. Another option is try recording yourself twice in a row. The one where you're just totally flat-faced and you're talking to the camera like this, and the other one where you're really animated using tons of body language. And yes, in case you're wondering, this is literally a team meeting we're having right now. And yes, I am recording right during a team meeting. So the principle here is that you have a range. Everybody has a range with what they're comfortable with doing. And so the idea here is to intentionally do things that are higher in the range, that push you further out, and then the things that are lower in the range, lower than what everybody else is doing. So this, for example, what I'm doing right now is I am literally recording, whispering while I'm recording during a team meeting. Nate? Yes? What are you doing? I better move out. While I'm moving out here, you can boop the like button on this video. Don't mind me, everybody here. I'm just gonna head out with me and my camera. Okay, so I've done by the side of the street before. I've done in a field. I've even recorded in the back of a pickup truck, but I have never done by a street light before. And this is gonna be kind of fun here. Now, the point here is that I want you to purposely put yourself out there. So what I've seen is that with channels, they often get stagnant at about 6 months. So you purposely need to break the stagnant by doing new things about every 6 months with your channel. Also, I'm kind of wondering if I were to shout subscribe to channel makers right now, how many people, driving by would actually subscribe to channel makers? Never mind. I can't even hear myself think with all this traffic. I doubt the audio is even going to be usable on this. Okay, so for this next part, I'm going to film in front of a store, which is also an uncomfortable situation for me.
All right, and finally we have it. The next principle I really did want to bring up here was be ready for your mental capacity to grow, meaning the audience for your channel, be ready for it to actually grow. Are you ready for it to actually grow? Because I've done a variety of different things on this channel, and each time that I see a spike in my audience growth, there have been a few videos, I could go back and show you the metrics, spikes in my audience growth, and each time I've consciously needed to make the choice and say, am I going to stay where I was, or am I going to actually grow with this change? As a video takes off, as my audience, as I'm gaining a lot of subscribers in a single month, am I actually going to take the change? Now, of course, this boundary pushing doesn't have to just be physical. It doesn't have to be putting on a Santa suit and filming while cars are driving by and looking at you with odd looks. It doesn't have to be that. The point here is that there's something about doing things physically different on your channel that allows you, or when you're creating content, that allows you to mentally push past barriers. It works, and it works really well. Okay, so the question is, where's your range right now? And I want you to push past it intentionally. What are you doing right now? Push past it, and maybe even don a Santa suit and record on the side of the street if you need to do that. And I'm gonna let you in on a little secret here. I am looking for people to work with one-on-one. I've got some really cool things in the works, and I want to know if you are the type of person that wants to work with Nate personally. If you are, then please reach out to me via my email. You can get past my gatekeeper there by letting Carissa know that you watched this video and you are very interested in working one-on-one. Let her know that in an email, and then she'll direct you to me. And that is if you're able to take me seriously while I'm recording with this Santa suit on. Oh yeah, and if you're not ready for that kind of commitment, I do have this video for you to watch next. So go watch that next, and we'll see you there. It's time to take this Santa suit off.
Okay, the secret is that we are working on a new video on how to get good on camera, and we are doing so much research for it, and it's gonna come out in January. So what we're doing is 4 of us on the team, Jake, Ricky, Nathan, and I, are all spending about 15 to 30 minutes a day researching this video and experimenting so that we have original research to give you to help you get better on camera. This one's crazy. It's gonna be at least 50 hours of research alone between all 4 of us. That's not even counting all the editing time and production of the actual video. So it's gonna be crazy. Keep an eye out for it in January, and I hope it really helps any of you that are starting a channel in the new year or just hoping to get better on camera this year on your channel. On to the next one. So earlier today, a few of us were talking, and I mentioned that I included this video in the lineup because it's one of my favorites from 2023. And I found out that Nathan actually produced this whole thing. He did all the research, outlined it, and I had no idea, but it's an awesome video. So thank you, Nathan. Check it out.
Howdy everyone, Nate here. I am excited for you to be here because I made this video 2 years ago. It got tremendously positive response, was extremely helpful to a lot of people. So this video you're watching right now is that video, but way better because I have 2 more years of experience and practice in working with thousands of YouTube channels, and I also have some really interesting updates on what is working right now. Now, because of that, my full intention with this video is to go far deeper than perhaps you have ever gone with your YouTube thumbnail production in breaking down exactly what makes a clickable thumbnail and how to produce them for your own channel. Now, as a result of that, don't be afraid or don't be shy to come back to this video multiple times and rewatch the entire thing or sections that are most valuable to you. Okay, so step 1 is to start with the idea for the video itself. Now, this may be the first time you're hearing this. This may be you've heard this multiple times. Either way, I'm going to break down why that is so important. We're not even talking about the idea for the thumbnail yet. The reason we focus on the idea for the video first is because that forms the common thread that produces the rest of the content. And when done correctly, a significant portion of the production or the ideation that goes into the thumbnail itself is already done when we start with a solid video idea. So here's how I'd go about doing it. First of all, I would have the idea. Can I say this video idea in a single sentence? And can I also produce a compelling title from that single sentence idea I have for this video. In addition, I'd be thinking of it in terms of what is the single promise that people are going to get as a result of this video? What is the single promise I'm going to make, or the single reason why my audience, your audience, are going to watch this video? In fact, I'm going to show you an example of what I'm talking about here. Okay, I've got my tablet going. I'm going to use this to show examples throughout this video of every single principle we'll be covering. Starting with a recent example from the Channel Makers channel, actually, of using a single concept for the thumbnail itself. You'll remember this video, how the YouTube algorithm works in 2023. My idea going into this was, look, there's been other videos about the YouTube algorithm. How am I going to make it visual? So it naturally followed that the single promise of the thumbnail, which let me pull up the thumbnail for you. Here's the thumbnail for it. The single promise of the thumbnail was visually, here is the YouTube algorithm. That was exactly my thinking behind making this thumbnail. A potential viewer knows by seeing visually, first of all, the words over here, the YouTube algorithm, and then they know from this portion right here, as well as some hints at what's going on right here and around between these two segments right here, that they are going to see the YouTube algorithm explained visually, and this thumbnail has performed extremely well because of it. Now with this, it's important to note that the idea for the video plays into the title and the thumbnail of the video, and they don't always have to, each of those separate parts don't always have to tell the entire story by themselves. In fact, some of the most effective examples are of thumbnails that force you to look at the title of the video, or vice versa. Now here's where we get to the updated portion here of things that have been changing that I've been observing on the YouTube platform. You see, thumbnails are at a point where they're perhaps less important than they used to be. Yes, you're watching a thumbnail guide, and yes, Nate did just say that. The reason I say that is because YouTube has been leaning further and further into the hover play feature. When you're on desktop, for example, and you hover your cursor over a video, what does it do? If you haven't turned this setting off, it starts playing the video with captions below the video. And the same is true with the mobile app. When you're scrolling through the mobile app and you pause at any point, it starts auto-playing that video, and this is the important part, the thumbnail doesn't show at that point. So what does that really mean for you and I as channel makers? Well, for one, are thumbnails still important? Yes, they absolutely are, which is why you're watching this video right now. I do not consider that YouTube thumbnails are going away anytime soon at all. But what I am saying here is that the first 15 seconds of your video are now considered part of the marketing of that video. Where traditionally I would look at it as primarily the title and the thumbnail, now we have title, thumbnail, and the first 15 seconds of the video. And the reason I put this into this very first step, the idea for the video itself, is because in most cases, the first 15 seconds of your video should be showing the idea of the video, because when hover play kicks in, they're scrolling through their phone, they pause and they say, oh, that might be an interesting video. If they can see clearly within the first 15 seconds that that is a video they want to watch, at that point, your audience will then choose to click or tap your video. And in fact, if you want to go to the next level with this, and we could do an entirely separate video just on this first 15 seconds concept, but the thing I'll say here is there's a reason why so many creators are putting captions or large text at the very beginning of their videos, because that is now part of the marketing for your video. So that is now included when you are planning the title and thumbnail of your videos. And now we're on to step 2, the idea for the thumbnail itself. Now I'm thinking of this perhaps differently than you ever have, or you've ever been taught this before. You see, it's the idea for the thumbnail itself, but I think of it as, what is the thumbnail story? What is the story that this thumbnail I'm working on right now is trying to communicate with my audience? And how clear is it? In fact, let me show you what I mean. Okay, now we're talking, what will this thumbnail actually accomplish for me? What is the story of the thumbnail? I pulled up another thumbnail from a recent Channel Makers video so you can see, when you look at this, what is the story that comes to mind for you? And in fact, if you wanted to give yourself an extra challenge while watching this video right now, you can pause the video for a moment and just look at this thumbnail and write out in your own words what you think the story of this thumbnail is. Because what we're looking to do is identify exactly what this thumbnail is accomplishing for my video, and what story the audience is going to pull away just from seeing this image alone. So with this thumbnail, there's arguably 2 locations that the audience is going to look first. Either my face or this big word expired over here. And from there, their eyes are going to be drawn either from this arrow itself pointing this direction, or from the central focus of this thumbnail to this right here. What is this? It's a trash bag, and there's some common advice called niche down. So the story here is, this advice has expired and therefore it needs to be taken to the trash. And it's the clarity of the story behind this thumbnail that explains why this one performs exceptionally well. So now you have an idea of a 1-sentence example of the story of your thumbnail. In fact, another really good recent example of what I've just been describing, I can show you you in a thread that just happened in Project 24, my YouTube system. You see, I started a thread in here asking thumbnails before and after. If you had a video that you put a thumbnail on beforehand and then you later changed it, what happened to the video after you changed it, either positive or negative? I'd be willing to bet that a fair amount of you watching this recognize this thumbnail. You've probably come across this video because it's one of the highest performing thumbnails on my channel. But I also wanted members of Project 24 to share their own examples of before and after. And I thought a really good example of telling a story or having a clear idea, single sentence idea for the thumbnail came from Project 24 member PC Gus. This was the before. The title was "The Black Slop Suit is Finally Mine." So this is a hard to obtain item in a video game. And this was the original thumbnail. And this thumbnail is arguably really good, but then PC Gus decided to switch it to "It's been done ... and this was the thumbnail at that point. And they later show because of this more intriguing story, that video performed better than it was when it was just this thumbnail. So just like having a single sentence to describe the overarching idea of your video, this is also a point where you want to check yourself and say, for the thumbnail idea I'm considering, can I describe it in a single sentence? Now, the next thing you want to take into consideration as you're planning out your thumbnail story is good bait versus bad bait. Okay, showing those examples, now we need to discuss bad clickbait versus good clickbait. I'm gonna show you some examples here. This one, for example, is from the channel Scotty Kilmer. Nothing against Scotty, I think he has really entertaining content. But when you look at this thumbnail, you would think, oh no, I'm leaving YouTube, and the title of this video is even, here's why I left YouTube. But when you actually watch the video, it's just a general car Q&A. So that's one version of what I would call bad bait, and you can watch this video next if you want a further, more in-depth explanation of good bait, gray bait, and bad bait. But I would argue that on the opposite extreme of good bait would be this one. This video is from the channel Whistling Diesel, and the title of this video is Flying a Helicopter Indoors. And does a helicopter actually get flown indoors in that video? Yes, it does. Therefore, this is good bait. Now let's talk the changes or trends that I am seeing in telling your thumbnail story. First of all, dynamic is not always better. Now, what I mean by that is typically if you are considering doing a thumbnail, you're thinking through the thumbnail story, you think you have examples of other YouTubers maybe that you watch on YouTube, and you look at their thumbnails and you say, oh, their thumbnails are really dynamic. They have a lot of action. They have a lot of perspective, a lot of these dynamic aspects going on with them, but we don't always stop to consider that that might not be the best way to deliver on the thumbnail story. Okay, I realize the lighting is awful on my face right here, but I had to take a moment to explain this concept of why dynamic isn't always better. It's very misunderstood. I'm gonna show you actually a negative example from Channel Makers itself. With this thumbnail, the title of the video was How to Survive a Year on YouTube. And I was going for a bit more of a Mr. Beast-esque style where I was more dynamic. I didn't actually have mud on my face. I had Cody paint that in afterwards, but I was going for a very dramatically different look and a more dynamic look with this thumbnail, and the video didn't perform as well as I would hope, and I think it came down to the audience expectations for this type of video. It looks so different than the other videos on my channel that it did underperform. Another example we could give of this is if I wanted to do a video, How to Survive a Year on YouTube, predicting the future, and it was me in a turban with a crystal ball, and I'm predicting the future, that may not work very well for my audience, simply because this channel makers in general, people are here for answers. They're here for the usefulness of the information. So if I try to get too clever or too dynamic by putting a crystal ball, me predicting the future, into my thumbnail, the joke that seems funny to myself might not land very well with my audience if they don't have the context to back it up. And whenever my audience doesn't have context or is confused by a thumbnail, that is a bad thumbnail. The second thing I'm seeing here is don't be too clever. Don't try to be too clever with the story of your thumbnail. If it does not either fit your audience expectations or delight them in a new way, do not do it. This is also a good point for me to invite you to boop the like button on this video if it is being useful and helpful to you thus far. I use boops on the like button to let me know, hey, this video is actually helping people. So thank you for doing that. All right, let's move on to step 3. What is the focal point or the main character of your thumbnail? I'm intentionally putting different words on this than you might have thought of your thumbnails as before. You see, it's often shared that you should have a primary focal point for your thumbnails, but what's better from my experience is to think of it as the main character in the story that your thumbnail is telling. In fact, as I have analyzed thousands of YouTube thumbnails, there's almost always just a single main character, a main focal point that the entirety of the rest of the thumbnail is directing your eyes and your interest 2. Occasionally there are what I'd call co-stars or more than one focal point, but I cannot think of any successful thumbnail that has more than 2 co-stars as the primary focus points. So as you're choosing the main character for your thumbnail, I want you to keep in mind these things. 1, it should be very obvious who or what the main character of the thumbnail is. Now, how do you make it obvious? Everything about that thumbnail seems to be directing to that primary main character. In fact, recently we did an entire hour-long mastermind dedicated just to this in Project 24, and some really interesting points were brought up about this. Now let's talk the updates or the recent trends that are working really well that I've been seeing in this main character aspect of your thumbnails. One is that some main characters force you to look at the title of the video. If used effectively, it will actually cause your audience or your potential audience to pause and have to look more into what this video is even about. And in the era of attention being currency, something that makes your audience say, hold on, I might actually be interested in this video, where previously they might have just said, nah, not of interest at all to me. Anything that does that is a step in the right direction and a positive thing for your thumbnails to accomplish. Okay, this is an interesting one because it's not always obvious or easy to identify how to force people to go from a thumbnail to look at the title of the video. It's very effective if done well, and I pulled this one up as an example to show you what it looks like. So this is the thumbnail, and just by looking this, what would you know? Well, probably something about eBay, and it's from this channel, but do we know anything else about it? No, we don't. And yet this video has a lot of views on it because the image is so plain, but it's such that it forces you to look at the title of the video, and the title is interesting enough that this video has gotten almost 1 million views. So the title, you ask, what is it? It's Inside the eBay Stalking Scandal. This thumbnail forced people, because it's so plain, it forced people to look at the title of the video. I can't understate how effective this is when done correctly like this. Next big update I've been seeing here is the emphasis on larger faces or objects within thumbnails. So much so that in many cases, if I see a thumbnail and the primary main character is interesting enough, it doesn't even need the remainder of the supporting cast that we're going to be talking about later on in this video. Okay, let's show some of these larger faces and objects in action. I pulled a variety. These were mostly random, just went to the homepage of YouTube and just pulled up a bunch of these thumbnails so I can show you rapid fire this trend that I am seeing. Okay, so here is a couple of them. Boom. If you don't know who Ryan Trahan is, creates very entertaining videos, but if you look at this thumbnail, for example, the primary emphasis, the primary focus of this is front and center, a face. So we've got the main character being very large here in the middle, and then what is the supporting cast? It's happening over here and over here. All right, here's another random one I pulled. This one's interesting because what is the main character? Obviously this, and this is front and center, forefront of everything else happening. These are supporting characters here and here, and as well as these background elements. Okay, here's another one. Where's the primary character? It's a very large face or object right here happening. And then the supporting characters are these beams of light, this barcode on the forehead, as well as this background going on. Here's an example of co-stars. We've got the main character going on over right here with the face, and then the co-star is right here, the Mr. Beast, and it seems to be a message from Mr. Beast. Now you notice with this example, it could have been done differently with her being a little bit further away from the camera and this being maybe a small image on a phone or something like that. And that can work, but what I'm seeing work right now is larger faces and larger objects in the frame. And one more example of this from a gaming channel. I'm gonna pull up the writing implement here. When you look at this, what have we got going on here? We've got the face very large over here, but I would argue that this isn't necessarily a main character, or if it is, it's a co-star to what's going on right here, because the main purpose of this face over here, it's larger in the frame, is to set the tone of the emotion of the thumbnail, but the focus is over here. And on to step 4. Here we are talking about the supporting cast for your main character or co-stars of your thumbnail. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm intentionally talking about this as main character and supporting cast because, again, your thumbnail is telling a story for your audience, and it's a story that needs to be communicated in a microsecond. So with step 4, we're looking at what is going on around the main character. What is the background? What colors are going on? What text elements are on the thumbnail? Are there textures or arrows pointing people's interest to a specific part of that thumbnail? Because at this point, it bears answering the question, well, why do people decide to click or tap on a thumbnail in the first place? I've broken it down to a few things that you'll incorporate into your own thumbnails. First of all, story, movement, action, interest in an object or event, or some emotion portrayed by that thumbnail. So your purpose with your main character and supporting cast is to tell a story that evokes one of those reasons and gives people a reason to, you guessed it, click or tap on your video versus all the other videos. And the point here in step 4 is that showing is almost always better than telling. Almost always. If you can show with an image with as few extraneous or unnecessary elements in your thumbnail as possible, that is almost always better than otherwise. Okay, now it's time to show some more examples from the wild. I took these thumbnails, I pulled them from the wild, I was scrolling through YouTube and I found these. And I do want to acknowledge that I did take screenshots of these thumbnails in order to make it easier for me to draw on them, etc., like this and this and this. Okay, when you look at this thumbnail, you don't necessarily know what is going on here. What you do know is that right here in the center, there is something that looks very unique. It does look like a real photograph. You'll notice that out here, and especially the presence of this socket up here, makes it look like it wasn't photoshopped. It's not some special image. In fact, part of the appeal of this thumbnail is because it looks like a real photograph with a central main character that is interesting enough for you to want to watch the video to figure out what is going on right here. Okay, next example, we've got another case of a large central focus going on right here. But then again, there's no text. There's no text over here, no text over here. Now, I promise this wasn't intentional, but the very fact again that this looks like a screenshot from a movie could make it more intriguing when combined with the title of the video to say what is going on and who is this person right here. All right, another example. Now this one seems to break that trend of large face or object in the thumbnail. Nothing happening down here and or up here or over here or over here. Appears to be a single large focus of the thumbnail, and yet it still works for this reason. What this thumbnail is doing is, as a frame, the entirety of this frame, it is setting an ambiance. This is an experience that he is having. So arguably, and I realize this might sound like it's breaking my earlier rules about having a main character, in this one, the character is the story of what is happening right here. And as before, does this thumbnail need text on it in order to be interesting? No, it doesn't. But could it have text? Yes, it could. If, for example, it had some writing up here that said how much this food weighed or how many calories it had with an arrow pointing downward at what he's about to consume, then yeah, that would be just fine. The point here is that if you can have an image that doesn't require text to explain it, that is even better for thumbnails. And then we have one more example here of no text. No text is present on this thumbnail anywhere, but we've got this central interesting object going on right here. And then the interesting thing is, because there's a person right here, is the person the largest thing in the frame? No, they aren't, but the person is there providing context to show the sense of scale for the object behind them. The other thing doing that is the presence of the vehicle back here to show, again, a sense of scale of how large this object is. Now, this is no joke. The space on YouTube is quite competitive. It's also quite fun if you do it well and you want to get into the game of figuring out how to produce effective storytelling thumbnails, which is why I wanted to include here that Project 24 mastermind or workshop, because if you're in a position where you would benefit from additional real specific targeted help on your content, Project 24 and especially those masterminds might be exactly what you're looking for. Because drawing back the curtain here a little bit, what often happens in those masterminds is, first of all, there's my YouTube system, which is my verified, tested system for predictably growing a YouTube channel. You following in that system, but there's going to be questions along the way. And so what we do in these masterminds is we come together and we'll have a theme like thumbnails, and we'll say, okay, let's talk thumbnails. Let's talk main characters. Share your thumbnails. And let's, as a group, and I'm there also, we'll look at the thumbnail and say, okay, what's the main character? How could we reposition this main character? How could we support the supporting cast to actually draw your audience eyes to the primary focus you're trying to accomplish and tell that story more effectively? And also, that's one of the best places to get roasted by me personally. If you come there with a thumbnail, for example, and you say, Nate, roast this, I'm take the filter off. Here on Channel Makers, I have to be a little bit more tactful with what I say most of the time. But within the masterminds in Project 24, I can take that filter off and I can speak directly and very clearly. I know this probably isn't the first time you've heard me talking about Project 24. I do it because I keep seeing it working and really helping people get radical strategy and knowing exactly what to do with their channel and real clarity on their next steps. So if that's you, you can check it out at channelmakers.com/Project 24. Now let's talk about what I would actually use to produce your thumbnails. There are two programs that I have had the most experience with. First of all is Photoshop. Now, Adobe Photoshop is perhaps the most well-known program for doing this, and in most cases, cases, I do recommend it because it has a lot of flexibility and there are many tutorials. Anything you possibly want to do, you can look it up online and find out exactly how to do it. The main issues people might have with it is there is a steep learning curve, and also the cost is an ongoing monthly price in order to use the software. Which is why if you're in that boat, I often recommend the secondary, which is Canva. It has both a free option and a paid option. The free option is very robust and able to accomplish a lot of what people want to do with their thumbnails, so you can also check that out. In fact, if you want a full list of the tools that I recommend for producing YouTube thumbnails and producing YouTube videos in general, you can go to channelmakers.com/tools, and that'll show you my broken down list of what I've tested and what I found to be the best. Now we're on to the updates and interesting things in this step 4 that you want to take note of. First of all, let's talk framing here very briefly. You usually want to avoid putting objects on the right side of the frame, or at least very important objects on this side of the frame, because of the possibility they might be obscured by the YouTube UI. And also, of course, this bottom corner of your thumbnail, you want to avoid putting anything of importance there because the timestamp goes right here. Now, for the secret ninja tip here, consider producing the thumbnails in such a way that it leads your audience eyes in the way that your audience typically reads words. So for example, if your audience is English speaking, most of the time they read left to right. And the other big update and trend difference I am seeing right now is the emphasis on using less text in your thumbnails. In most cases, if you can avoid putting text into your thumbnail as the primary or the main character, then I would definitely do that. Because in most cases, text is best used as supporting cast for the main character. Okay, in order to explain this a bit more, you'll recall I had that thread in Project 24 where I was inviting members of Project 24 to share their before and after thumbnails, right? What you set before, and then what did you change it to, and what changed about the analytics of that video? Did it actually perform better? So we could see a side-by-side comparison. And as we were having this discussion, there were a few Project 24 members that shared in here that I wanted to highlight. The first one's from Project 24 member Baldy, and they shared this was the before thumbnail. The title was Unboxing and Review of a Meccano 9550. That was the title. So, and then this was the thumbnail. And then they shared that they changed the title to Meccano haven't made a better set in the last 50 years. And they changed the thumbnail to be this. Now you can see some differences here. One, the image seemed to be brought forward and made less blurry than in the other one. We've also got the face getting larger in the thumbnail. And we do need to acknowledge the change of the title to make it more intriguing sounding. But the interesting thing is they shared the views over time on this video. And I get it, 1.1 thousand views. But the point is we're learning along the way, which is exactly why Project 24, exactly why we do threads like this, so we can actually drill down into what's working and what's not working. But if you look at this, the first thumbnail was present on this video for 380 days before they switched it to the secondary thumbnail. Remember, this is the first one, this is the secondary. And after 380 days, you can see a difference. There was an uptick in the number of views. It's directly traceable to switching the thumbnail and the title. And I thought that was really cool to see so clearly visible from a channel that's not one that I own personally. The other example I wanted to show you is from the Project 24 member Audie Craft. I hope I'm pronouncing that right here. They shared this was the before thumbnail right here. Oh, there we go. That's the before thumbnail. And then they switched it to the after thumbnail. And in terms of change, they shared that their click-through rate went from 2.5% with this to 4.5% with this second one. And I love that they shared the insight of including the colors and the imagery that is familiar made all the difference between this and this. Because the point with measuring and changing your thumbnails after the fact is so that you can have these incremental improvements. You could look at that and say, oh, click-through rate went from 2.5% to 4.5%. You might look at that and say, well, dang, that's not that big of a difference. But that's the point. When you track these things, when you go, okay, this is what I did before, this is what I did after, and you see an actual change, you're onto something. And you make enough of those incremental changes, and that, my friend, is how you build a successful YouTube channel. And that is how you make really effective thumbnails. And on to step 5. Up to this point, we've been building out the layers and the idea behind the story. Why your audience will even click it in the first place. What's the story you're telling in a single sentence? At this point, we produced the thumbnail, but we're not done yet, because this step is all about testing and evaluating. In fact, in most cases, I would rarely ever recommend that you just publish a thumbnail and just leave it be. The number of times that I personally have pivoted in the thumbnail and seen an increase in views points to the fact that in many cases, pivots can be extremely helpful or useful in increasing the reach of your videos. All right, so let's talk how to evaluate the actual performance of your thumbnails. Aside from the common 1 out of 10 metric that we all look at, and we all want that glorious confetti when it is a 1 out of 10. These are the notable analytics I'd be looking at for my thumbnails. First of all, click-through rate in the first 48 hours. What this is telling me is how well that video does with my core audience, or your audience that are most likely to be on YouTube and most likely to watch your video as soon as they see it recommended to them. So that's measuring how well it's doing with your core audience. Now the next metric is the click-through rate for the first 7 days. This metric I see measuring the effectiveness of a standard, what I call a publish cycle. If, for example, you publish every week, then for the first 7 days, you're seeing both your core audience and the broader audience that may not be as dedicated to you, but they're still going to watch within the first week. And with each of those metrics, we're measuring them against what's the standard on our channel, and if something seems to be performing abnormally low, that is a good indicator that we might want to pivot. Next metric I'm looking at is the overall views for the video. This is one that I call kind of the ultimate metric, in that it tends to be the one that combines all of the other YouTube metrics into a single number. And what that tells me is how well that video was marketed and delivered on the promise of the video. The next metric I'm looking at, kind of as a secondary to thumbnails, but is still important, is the key moments for audience retention graph, because this is telling me how well I delivered on the promise, the reason why the audience clicked in the first place. In fact, I recently did a thread in the Project 24 community where I asked people for before and after, what their thumbnail looked like before, and then after they changed it, what changed about it. So also, if you're at the point where you need additional help with growing your YouTube channel, or particularly thumbnails, consider checking out Project 24's YouTube business growth strategy is my specialty. In fact, the number of times I have had people come to me, in fact, this very week, I had a conversation with someone who said that just one section of the YouTube system was worth the entire price because of the clarity of their next strategy, the direction they were taking their channel. It was worth the entire price of Project 24. So I keep seeing it work for people. So you can check it out at channelmakers.com/project24 to see the whole hullabaloo and the tour behind the scenes, everything that's included in it. And we'll see you there.
Okay, this one's crazy. This is the best story of the year. So one morning I came into the office, and it was pretty soon after we got into our new location. And Nathan had an idea. And his idea was that we need to get this video out right away. He said that news dropped on YouTube and we should produce this video and publish it that same day. And we were all against it. I'm pretty sure every single one of us, I know I was, I know Nate was, we were against it. Nate just didn't think it was a very good video idea. I thought that we couldn't really fit it into our production schedule because our editors were busy with videos on the production schedule. And normally we spend like 2 weeks producing a video. I was just nervous about it and I didn't think we had time, especially with the other videos. I was afraid it would mess up our workflow. But Nathan insisted that it was really important that we got it done. And he was so dedicated to it that he actually offered to outline and script the entire thing. He did all the research, and he offered and followed through on editing the video himself so that it wouldn't interrupt the editors or cause any more work for anyone else that day. But how did it perform? Okay, get this. It outperformed every other video that we published in the entire year of 2023 to date. I am not kidding. In fact, no other video even came close. This one is at 399,000 views right now, and probably, I'm sure by the time you're seeing this video, it'll be over 400,000. Our runner-up, our video that got the next highest views, is only at 130,000, and it's 4 months older, so it's had 4 months longer to get views on it. Talk about the MVP. This is the last time I am ever doubting an idea that Nathan has. Okay, sorry for all the hype. I just got really excited about that one because it surprised me so much. I just wasn't expecting it to do that well with that little prep, and especially having one person working on it pretty much entirely. So here's the video.
Howdy everyone, Nate here. I don't normally make videos like this, but this one was just too urgent to pass up. So something big has happened with YouTube monetization. You see, what they've done is they've changed the requirements for monetization. You ready for this? Let me tell you what they've done. They've cut in half the number of subscribers needed for monetization. Where it was previously 1,000, now it is 500. You only need 3 public uploads in the last 90 days, and you also only need either 3,000 watch hours as opposed to the previous 4,000 over the past year, or only 3 million YouTube Shorts views in the last 90 days as opposed to the previous 10 million views. However, if this is sounding too good to be true, it is because it is. You see, it is not all monetization that is unlocking at that point, only some monetization. And also there's the caveat that it currently is only rolling out to limited countries in the world. Okay, so let's talk what kind of monetization is actually unlocking with this new major update here. So we've got super chats, channel memberships, super thanks, super stickers, and the ability to promote your own products with YouTube shopping, like the merch shelf. Now, notably absent from that list is ad revenue sharing. What that means is simply you will not get ad revenue from viewers watching your content and watching ads before or during or after or in the sidebar or any of the other ad revenue sharing options. You will still not get it on your channel until you reach the previous requirements. What YouTube is doing is they're unlocking a new step that's lower than what it used to be, which I see as a grand positive. And now we get into the implications and Nate's breakdown of what this actually means for you watching this. First of all, it is nice to have that smaller stair step, that lower barrier to entry, and I see a huge advantage for smaller starting off YouTube channels in this. So if you're in that bucket, pay attention closely here. The big unfair advantage I see smaller channels having here is the small channel appeal. Very similar to if you get a knock on your door and you open the door and it's a cute little kid selling cookies, or your neighborhood kid that's a teenager that's doing lawn care versus the professional lawn care service. Now take a moment and think, why would you pay the neighborhood kid to do your own lawn care instead of a professional service? There's different priorities and there's different reasons for each of those. But one of the primary reasons why you would choose to buy cookies from a kid knocking on your door or the neighborhood teen that's doing the lawn care is because of this small channel appeal. And there's three areas that I see this working extremely well: super stickers, chats, and especially super thanks. Because what YouTube has done is they've made it easier for you to tell your audience, hey, I'm a small channel. Thank you so much for watching this content. And if you want a way to say thank you to me, if you just wouldn't mind sending me a super thanks, if you enjoyed this video, if it made you laugh even just a little bit, if it made you do even that, if you wouldn't mind sending me a small super thanks, that would be huge for me. Because what this is leading into is a massive advantage if you create a tribe earlier on with your audience. What I mean by that is a group of people that just really like you and the way that you produce content. Because this also leads into the other huge advantage here of you being able to promote your own merchandise or your own products much earlier on. So if you're an artist, for example, and you create handmade cards, it's not that you were never able to sell that on your own website, your own shop before, it's that it's easier now to put it directly on the YouTube UI. Now, I do need to add some cautions here, or some words of wisdom from Nate here. First of all, if this video is being helpful and you're enjoying getting it in a timely manner, I would love if you'd boop the like button on this video so it can spread to more people. Thank you. But now we need to get to those cautions. First of all, this is not the only way to monetize on your channel. Far from it. There have been ways to do it previously outside the YouTube platform, utilizing the description, etc., your own website, etc., etc., etc. The point here is that YouTube is just making it simpler to do on platform through YouTube approved methods. Next thing, although YouTube memberships are available much earlier on now, I am still hesitant to introduce them with a very small audience, especially with an audience that only has around 500 subscribers. The reason I say that is most of the time it's not worth it for the additional benefits you're going to offer in a membership or a Patreon or whatever you're going to do if only 1 or 2 people sign up. It's typically best to wait until you have a critical mass of audience and then launch something like that. The next thing is the more recent feature of YouTube shopping, when you can highlight products in your videos and get affiliate revenue from it. Still not available at that tier. The requirement for that is still that you're part of the YouTube Partner Program and you also have at least 20,000 subscribers. Because the point I am seeing here is there's going to be a shift more towards audience first and super fans, so to speak, first channels that start off that way versus views-centric channels. Because of the simple fact that in order for you to make money from views, you need to be able to make money from the ad revenue. So there's a massive advantage if your content and your channel is in such a space that you can have super fans or a tribe of people built very early on. You can start making money much sooner and simpler because of these changes YouTube is making. And of course, the other caveat here, this doesn't have to be the case for every channel. If you're trying to create the type of channel that doesn't rely on having a tribe or people knowing you personally or liking you or your content specifically because it's you, if you're the type of channel that's not doing that, that is okay. But I will say that I think these changes made by YouTube more directly affect and benefit channels that are focused on audience interaction. So here's my question to you for the comments on this video. What are you going to do as a result of these YouTube changes? I would love to hear the details in the comments on this video. Also, I've been releasing some big zingers recently if you haven't been keeping up. Here is one, for example, where I dive into recent updates and trends that I see working right now for YouTube thumbnails, as well as a full guide on how to produce that type of thumbnail. So go watch this next and we'll see you there.
All right, we all know it can be really hard to make interesting videos. And to me, that's one of the most intimidating parts about YouTube is making your video interesting and entertaining amidst all of the competition. So if you struggle with that, this video is gonna be really helpful. It's got some really great strategy. Check it out.
Welcome back to the Channel Makers YouTube channel. Today we have a lot to cover, so let's get into it. So much of the information found on YouTube is so incredibly dry and boring. Like boring in a way that like watching a tree grow would be more interesting than watching some of these videos. But here's the thing, your channel doesn't have to be that way. It's your job to provide as much value to the viewer as possible, and great information plus engaging presentation will give the viewer the best experience possible and show YouTube that you deserve to be watched. So how do we do that? The first thing I would do to make my informational video interesting is to add a story to it. There are so many channels that do this so incredibly well. During my research for this video, the channel that I found that did this really well is called Heavy D Sparks. This YouTuber does heavy duty off-road recoveries. This is something that honestly could be a very boring topic, but he always puts a story into the video. Will they get it out on time? There's like time limits. There's people who are going to be hurt if they don't fix the problem. Each episode is just carried by a story that makes viewers want to come back to the channel over and over again and watch these recoveries that are honestly quite similar every single time, but it's the story that does it. And listen, I drive a granny wagon and I don't go outside unless it's 65 degrees or lower, and I still watch this channel. That just shows you how good it is. Another example is found on the Income School YouTube channel. On this channel, we wanted to do a video about improving the monetization on your website. As a business owner, this is something that's really important, but honestly, the information's kind of dry. So rather than just giving the 5 steps to improving your monetization, we picked one of the viewers on the channel and we actually took his website and we improved his monetization, and we showed the story of how we 3x'd his earnings in just 4 hours. Come on, that's so much more engaging than just 5 steps to improving your monetization. Next up is visual engagement. There are so many different ways you could take this, but here are a couple ideas. The first thing is multiple camera angles, which most viewers won't consciously recognize, but subconsciously will keep them super engaged in your videos. Next up is on-screen visuals. Now this is one that you might just think is super common. Oh, I'm gonna put some titles on my video. Well, that's the very basis of it. Anytime you do a screen recording, a screenshot, a title, a graphic, even something as simple as like writing on my desk is going to get you engaged and make you keep watching, because I'm moving the camera around and I'm putting things up on the screen that are not just me talking. And that switch is going to keep people engaged. This is also probably a good time to talk about pacing and editing. The pacing of your video is really going to dictate how long people stay on your video. If you have spots that are really slow where you just over-explain something, but then you have spots where you just glaze over another piece, viewers aren't going to know what to expect and they're going to end up scrubbing through your video. And that leads us to editing. Editing is a great tool to help the pacing of your video be consistent no matter what happened during the actual recording time. And remember, even a simple rough cut of your video during the editing process can really help determine the pacing no matter what happened during recording. And guess what? Cody and Andrea, our editors, oftentimes will cut up to 50% of whatever we record. Stop. Hey guys, make sure you don't cut anything important. Thank you. The next two I'm going to pair together. This is to be interactive and authentic with your audience. I know this can feel a little bit weird since you're just talking to a lens, but I promise you, your audience will be so much more engaged if you are having kind of a conversation with them. You know, like, you guys know that you should do this, right? Or please like and subscribe to the video, or please comment below, or like and subscribe. Please like this video, I'd really appreciate it. But you get the idea. Anytime that you can kind of converse, rather than just talking to your audience, talk with them and engage them in the conversation as an active participant, this will help the quality of your video tremendously. Not only that, but add in your authentic personality and they will learn to trust you, which will engage them even deeper and then keep them coming back for more. And finally, don't be afraid to surprise your audience and give them some variety. You could add twists to the plot line of whatever story you created to go around your information. You could add in some unexpected humor, like a little joke here or there. You wouldn't believe how many jokes I looked up for this video to try and insert a great joke here. I just couldn't find a good one. If you have a great YouTube joke, put it in the comments below. I think that'd be really fun. Anyway, when you do unexpected humor or unique segments that your audience just didn't expect, it will keep them curious for what's coming next. They're going to look forward to the next joke that you pull. They're going to look forward to the next screen grab you shared because it's so helpful. Don't be part of the huge group of YouTubers who just share boring information in a super, super boring way. Get creative, have fun with it. Don't go too crazy. You don't have to overdo it. Don't think too far outside of the box. Just do something that feels unique to you and your viewers will love it. Be calculated and intentional. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Okay, this video is one that Cody and I had started working on back in our other location, and we had never published it, but once we got into the new office, we decided to finish it up and publish it, and the response we got was really cool. A lot of people were really appreciative of how practical it was, I think, and I know I learned a ton from Cody when we were making this video, so check it out. I really think it'll help you with getting started on your channel in the new year. So we're gonna go into what we use to get this shot, but this is not your typical how to make YouTube videos with an iPhone. Let's tear this away and get to what we often see beginner YouTubers do, and then we're gonna work our way back up step by step. These first few talking head mistakes are pretty fun because they're easy fixes. So we need to get the camera higher. This downward angle is not gonna look good, it's not gonna be flattering, and the composition isn't going to look professional. So we're just gonna add a few more books or maybe a stool underneath your table, whatever you can do to raise the camera up. So this is looking a lot better. We got the camera up higher. The next thing we want to think about is if we are against a flat wall or preferably a corner, because a flat wall just looks kind of bland. It doesn't have as much depth, and the corner makes it really feel like you're in a 3D space and gives you a lot more to work with as far as framing. So this process is very incremental. We're still far from where we want to be. Yes, we moved to the corner, which is better, but we don't want to be pushed back into the corner because it still lacks dimension and depth, and it doesn't give us a lot of space to play around with the background. So we are going to push the chair further out into the middle of the room. I know that's counterintuitive, which is why a lot of people miss this, because at your house, you're not gonna have a chair a few feet away from the wall, but on camera, it actually looks a lot better. Okay, this is about where we wanna be as far as composition. The eyes should be about here. We're high enough in the frame, and the camera is not angled up at me. I think a good rule of thumb, especially if you're not sure and you're doing a talking head video, is to have your phone settings set for a wide angle, because that'll allow you to see context, kind of the big picture of what's going on, and any kind of action or demonstration you're going to be able to see really well. If you want to, in post, when you're editing, you can crop in and show more detail or maybe some kind of reaction or emotion, and then you kind of get the best of both worlds with two different shots while only having one camera, which is your phone. Next, we're going to talk about lighting. And the obvious thing we can do, because this is terrible lighting, it's just the overhead lights in the room, can lights, but there's two giant windows behind me. So if you are not willing to invest at all in lighting right now, the next best thing we can do is open these windows. We're gonna show you what that looks like. Okay, clearly we've got some issues here. We don't want the light coming in behind us. So let's go over how to maximize the windows if you really wanna stick with a completely free option. But in a minute, I'm also going to show you how to add some really affordable lights. Let's see what we can make work with just the windows. Okay, so we've killed the overhead can lights and we moved closer to the window. Yes, that did bring us back further into the corner, but we still have a good angle and a little bit of distance between me and the very back of the wall. Now, there is a big shadow here because I'm much closer to this window than this window. So one way you can fix that for free around your house is to grab a whiteboard, a piece of styrofoam, or even a bed sheet, and put it as close to you as possible without it being in the frame, and then that'll reflect light really well and make it much more even. Okay, so we've added this whiteboard, and that is reflecting light from the window and making my face a little bit more balanced out so the shadows aren't quite so harsh, and added some decorations, which hopefully makes the background look a little bit more interesting. This light is nice because it does add interest, but it's not really providing anything for my face. Another thing you have to consider when you are filming using window lighting is that the weather could change pretty rapidly. For example, today is very overcast, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but especially if clouds were moving and it was going in and out of sunlight versus overcast, that could cause some problems, and you're just gonna have to adjust more day to day. So next we're gonna show you what it looks like if you use just a few affordable lights. Now we're getting into lighting, which is where the big changes happen. So this is a panel light, and you can get these in packs of 2. They're pretty affordable. They're nice because you can change the color temperature, which gives you a lot of freedom over the look you get. And here, this one's even cheaper, and this is just a bulb with a softbox on it. So you're definitely more limited on the options, just on and off, but it does give a really nice diffused light. At this point, we have replaced the LED light with a softbox because the softbox is the most affordable option. And if you close the windows, it gives a more stylized look. Another way you can make it more interesting is to add an RGB light. This can be any color you want, and usually you'll put it on the ground behind you somewhere to add kind of a backlight. So let's go ahead and throw this back there, and we're also going to change out the chair to help cover it up and make it look even nicer. Okay, for light placement, I'm going to put this RGB light pretty close here behind the chair, and it's going to be facing out that way towards the wall. And then, now this key light, the main one, whether it's the softbox or the LED, you want to get as close as possible to you without it being in the frame, of course. So this is really scooted up, and we've used the tripod to try to get it as close as possible without you seeing it. One more thing I want to mention, if you don't want to look so dramatic with a bright blue or green, you want to give a more natural look, you can tone it down. So let's try yellow to match the light back there, and I'll show you what that looks like. So there's an example of the more natural lighting. Now, of course, you could get better than this. We ran through all the setups with the most basic, affordable gear. Okay, so we filmed all of that back at our old office, and now we have this new space, which brings us a lot more opportunities to bring you different setup tutorials and videos. So let us know what you want to see. We could do things like kitchen and food prep. We could do outdoor content, or just like DIY setups for teaching concepts, anything like that. Please just let us know in the comments what you want to see there. But we were really excited to start with this one because I wanted you to be able to do it affordably and not have to worry about how much it's going to cost, because I want you to worry about making content and not have to stress about money. And so hopefully this shows you how to get started gradually using natural lighting from windows, props and stuff you have around your house before you know what kind of equipment you want to invest in. We do have a lot of recommendations when you are at that point, so check out our favorite gear as well as everything we mentioned in this video in the description. The most important thing that I want you to take away from this whole video is to embrace the process of gradual improvement. Don't be discouraged if things don't look good right away. Just practice and experiment. I promise you're gonna get there. It just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of tweaking, but it's all part of the process. Later, channel makers. Okay, so a lot of you are wanting to start a YouTube channel in the new year, but you don't know what topic to start it on. We have the perfect video for you, and I think I'm gonna make you wait. I've been going in chronological order up to this point, but I think we should save this one for last because it's probably the most applicable to a lot of you starting a new channel at the end of the year. So we're gonna save it to last, even though we made it kind of mid-year. And there's another video that I'm gonna put on the end screen as a card that's really great if you're starting your channel too. It's about starting a channel in 2024. Okay, for now we're gonna watch this one. Now this one is super interesting to me because I had actually never realized until I was talking to Ricky about this video that they had actually started a YouTube channel and they had done $100,000 in profits from a launch with a YouTube audience of 12,000 subscribers. You always think you need so many subscribers to make any progress on YouTube, but that's not really how it is. If you have really valuable content and you have something that people want, then you can monetize a really small audience really well. But check out the video for the full story.
Despite what a lot of people think, you can make a lot of money from a YouTube channel with very few subscribers. Don't believe me? Well, I made over $100,000 in the first month after launching an information product to an audience of only 12,000 subscribers. Today I want to show you exactly how that works. I want to take a few minutes to really outline what this can look like. I'm showing right here the first tier of information products, but first let me explain a little bit about what this is. An information product is when you package up information of any sort and then you sell that to your audience. You might wonder, why would anybody pay for information when there's so much available for free on YouTube? And yet, people are doing it every day. You've got people that are subscribing to Patreon, people subscribing to YouTube memberships. You have people buying courses and ebooks and all sorts of information products online. And the reason people are doing that is because the information that you package up is somehow more valuable to them than taking the time to go and find all the information that they'll probably need in all sorts of different places. You see, most people don't know what they don't know, and so they don't necessarily know what questions to ask to get the information they want. And if you can provide information that solves a problem for them, either typically a problem of time, saving them time, or two, money, saving them money or making them more money, you have a really good information product that could potentially earn you a great income because it provides a lot of value to people that watch your channel. We're going to talk about exactly how that happens, but first I want to dive into the first tier of information products. This kind of information product can be used by basically anybody, no matter what type of channel they have. We're going to keep our naming convention very simple. We're going to call this first tier the easy tier of information products. These information products are really easy to create, which is really awesome, because putting a ton of work into creating a new information product when you don't yet know what's going to work well with your audience is probably not going to be worth your time. If you start with something really easy to create, then you're going to be able to start to get a feel for what works well with your audience, and you are probably going to end up adjusting and adapting this information product quite a few times before you're really ready to create something at a higher tier. These kind of information products often look like an ebook. Sometimes they can be a very simple downloadable file, a template of some kind. It could be a very simple training course, just something that doesn't take you a lot to create, but has a few of these specific properties. First, it should be low cost. We want to sell something that doesn't cost people very much because the friction is going to be very, very small. Before launching the information product that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, we started by creating a very inexpensive audio guide for podcasters. It cost $14.99. We might have even started out by selling it for $9.99. And honestly, it was probably more product than we should have given away at that price. But it was a very low cost and very easy product for us to create. It took us a few hours to put together the audio files and we were done. Something about this is it needs to be a kind of product that allows you to very easily enter this information product space. So like I said before, it should be really easy for you to create. And as a result of that, it's not going to be very hard for you to go from where you are now to having this sort of an information product. It should be a product that you create to be good enough. We're not talking about creating something ultra exceptional. We're not talking about creating something that's going to completely change somebody's life. Usually we're talking about something that solves a very simple problem. What I love about these kinds of information products is that they're the most passive. For some of your channels, this may be the only tier of information product you ever create because it's the one that makes the most sense. And if you don't want to have to run a business with a lot of customer support, with interaction, a community, all those sorts of things, chances are you're going to want to stick with an easy or maybe medium tier information product. Now, one of the big and most important things that you need to understand with this tier of information product is that it needs to solve a simple or inexpensive problem. If somebody has a very simple problem that they want solved and they go to the web and they find an information product that's really, really advanced and awesome and it costs them $300, they're never going to pay for it no matter how good that product is because the problem that it solves for them is very simple. Or it's a problem that's not very expensive for them to continue having that problem. That makes sense. You see, people buy information when that information helps them to overcome some obstacle in their life. That obstacle could be something as simple as getting better at a new hobby. It could be something like being more entertained. You know, people buy information in the form of entertainment all the time. Just make sure that if you're solving a very simple or inexpensive problem for someone, that you're doing it with a low cost, easy to create information product. Let's talk some examples. Some are kind of obvious. I've told you that ebooks, they make a lot of sense for a lot of really instructional YouTube channels. If there's a hobby that you're participating in, even if your channel is kind of in the entertainment space, but you're doing dirt biking, it's pretty easy to put together an information product. We had a dirt biking website and YouTube channel, and we sold a garage manual that was essentially sort of a maintenance guide for dirt bikes, and it was like 10 or 15 bucks. If you're in the education space or something involving children, downloadable printables are something that can be very inexpensive that you can sell a whole packet for a couple of dollars. What's amazing about this is you can sell this 10 times, 100 times, or 100,000 times, and the cost to you is essentially the same. All of the income that you generate is 100% for you. But I often get the question, what if I'm a vlog channel? I don't really have a topic. People just kind of follow me. Or what if I'm a gamer? People like to watch me play games. For a lot of this kind of content, really heavy entertainment content that doesn't have a specific topic, or vlog kind of content, what oftentimes people are willing to pay for is more connection and more behind the scenes. Some people who are gamers can easily sell an information product about talking about their setup. Other people want to learn how to do that, so you could teach them how to do that very easily. Same thing with vloggers. You could create information products about how to become a successful vlogger yourself. That works, but for the most part, I'd put those into higher tiers. Where would I start if I were a gamer or a vlogger? I'd start with a YouTube membership or a Patreon or something like that, where people can pay a couple dollars a month to have access to behind the scenes content, additional content, stuff that is extra special and just for them. The reason that this works so well is that if you have a vlog channel, people are there for you. They're not necessarily just there for the information. So start simple. Start with something in the easy tier, something that doesn't cost a whole lot of money, anywhere from about $1 to maybe $20. And that's going to be a great place for basically any YouTube channel to start. Now we're going to level up a little, so it's time to turn on the lights. It wasn't just because I forgot to do that before I started. All right, next we're going to talk about the medium tier. This is going to start to make a lot of sense, but I want to make sure I give you some really good examples. At this tier, I'm going to start at the bottom, where what we're doing is we're creating an information product that solves a bigger problem. This is a place where we're going to have to match the pricing as well as the complexity of our information product to the problem that we're solving. If the problem that we're solving is teaching someone how to play disc golf, teaching them the rules of the game and teaching them how they can throw the driver farther, well, that's a problem that if someone's looking to try to go pro someday, maybe they're willing to pay a lot of money, but most people are probably only going to pay $10, $20, $30 maybe to learn how to do that well. But if you were a professional disc golf player, then at that point you could potentially offer a higher tier information product, something here maybe in the medium or maybe even high tier, but that was geared toward those people that are looking to compete at a higher level. The same goes for a lot of hobbies. You might wonder, yeah, but how much money are people willing to put into, again, learning something about dirt biking? Well, learning how to maintain their own bike, maybe not a ton of money, right? But if you can help somebody to save a lot of money on buying a dirt bike, if you can help somebody save a lot of time on learning how to ride a dirt bike, you may be solving a bigger problem than you think. And the pricing that you could command for that would go well beyond the $20 range. Oftentimes, products in this range are going to be anywhere from $20 to $200 or even $300. Now, a couple criteria for this medium tier information product is usually some kind of a course or a bundle. So we talked about some of these simpler and lower cost information products. Oftentimes what we'll do is we'll put together some kind of a course, but then we'll take some of these kind of low cost items, some of the downloadables, some of the worksheets, even some like tools, very, very simple tools, like a spreadsheet that does a lot of calculations for you. And we'll package those together with the course that you use them for. And now we have a nice bundle that's worth a lot more than if somebody were just getting an ebook where they kind of have to figure all that stuff out for themselves. Again, in the information space, this seems really easy, but we see this kind of thing working everywhere. If you have a successful gaming channel, there's absolutely no reason why you wouldn't package up some sort of a nice bundle that includes helpful content that teaches people, again, how to become a gaming YouTuber, teaching them how to stream and just how to make everything look better, what sort of equipment they need. Some of that is going to be available for free on the internet. That's the thing everybody always says. They can find this information for free, but they don't know what questions to ask. And so they have to piece together a whole bunch of different videos from your channel, where instead you can lay it out for them in a step-by-step manner, and suddenly, boom, it's very, very clear. You've just saved them how many hours that it would have taken for them to figure this all out, even with the free content they can find online. That time savings is the value that you're creating by putting it all together in a very simple, step-by-step, easy-to-follow manner. Try it. It's going to work better than you probably think it will. The next criterion is we treat this usually as a valuable one-time purchase. I'm typically not wanting to create some sort of a subscription, with the exception of, like we talked about for the easy products, kind of a behind-the-scenes Patreon or YouTube membership sort of a thing. Something like that works pretty well because it's all sort of handled in-house through YouTube or through Patreon. I probably wouldn't create my own subscription on my own website where I have to manage the whole community and everything. There's a lot that starts to go into that, and it's a lot more work, making it a lot less passive. You have to bring in a lot more income at that level because you're now probably going to have to start paying people to help maintain that sort of a membership. That's why we push that toward the upper tier. Here, I'm typically doing mostly one-time purchase sort of things. But even so, it's probably not going to ever be able to be totally passive. Once you start selling something at these little bit higher price levels, people get a little more picky about what they get. And you're probably going to start getting some complaints. You're going to get a lot of questions via email. And having a virtual assistant, someone that you can bring on just part-time, usually kind of in a contractor sort of role, who can handle your email and who can respond to those questions, who can take care of, you can create rules, right? You can say, based upon this sort of a rule, if these conditions apply, go ahead and give them a refund and we'll just move on. If these conditions apply, then don't just try to help them through these specific support steps. It's one of the very first things we did back when we were selling our sort of medium tier product, which was when we created a course that was a one-off purchase. We included a 60-day email support, but beyond that, that was it. We were done. It was over. But we hired a virtual assistant to be able to handle those billing issues, as well as to be able to respond to some of those most common questions that we were getting day after day after day. Notice that my experience started with a very easy product, went to one of these medium tier products before ever getting into a big membership. By working through those steps, I learned so much, and I learned a lot about what people needed and what information was missing from my course. And that way, by the time I had a high tier product, those common questions that were being asked basically by every single person, we were answering those in the course content. And it made the launch of that really awesome membership go incredibly well. Okay, now let's talk about the hard tier. The hard tier is one that's going to work really well for channels that have some sort of an informational angle. If there's any teaching going on your channel, this is going to usually work really well. It's also going to potentially work really well for people who are talking about different hobbies or lifestyle type topics, where there's a lot of people who are wanting to learn more about whatever that lifestyle is. With that, I mean, I'm talking about all sorts of things. I'm talking about things like homesteading and gardening. I'm talking about things like tiny homes. I'm talking about things where people who, maybe have a sort of normal or kind of average lifestyle and who want to get more into something that's totally different. And there are a lot of things that are different about that. If you have a channel where it's even kind of vlog style, and you're just kind of in that lifestyle, and that's just something that they participate in by watching you, well, here is where you can have the opportunity to teach them what they need to know to be able to get into that lifestyle. It's amazing. With this, we're solving bigger problems and we're solving more custom problems. By that I mean, there's usually going to be some sort of a system that's going to work really well for most people. They're going to be able to, if they follow that system, they're going to be able to get into it. But because every person is different and every person is coming from a different place, a different background, maybe a different level of understanding, the problems they're going to run into are going to be more custom. This is where there's a lot of value in having ongoing support. And there's usually going to be lots of support with this kind of an information product. These usually look like courses, but that also contain some sort of a membership or subscription. There's usually some sort of community engagement involved as well, which can be a great way to handle a lot of the custom questions that people have. What we do with Project 24 is we have the course structure, right? There's the YouTube system, there's a blogging system, and people work through those step by step. But people regularly have questions. So we have a support community. In that community, as members ask questions, other members, as well as we, the staff of Income School, are participating in answering those questions and just providing guidance based upon our own experience. We're also providing a regular podcast 3 times a month about YouTube and 3 times a month about blogging, answering a lot of the questions that come up in the community, highlighting members who have done really well, etc. And then we have regular, what we call masterminds. This sounds like I'm trying to sell Project 24. I'm not. I'm just using it as an example. But we have these regular masterminds where we choose a topic based upon what members are talking about, what they need. And then we're literally setting up live time where someone from our team goes live with a group of people and we have a discussion, we answer questions. So we're able to solve bigger and more custom problems. And because there's this ongoing value, we're getting an ongoing income. People, in order to be able to participate in that kind of stuff, are understanding of the fact that they have to keep paying for it. You can't just pay a one-time fee and have lifetime support in these sorts of things because there's a cost associated with them. And it's a beautiful thing when you can create this sort of ongoing value and solve these bigger problems for people, save them so much more time, save them so much more money, help them make more money. When you do that, you're in a much better position to be able to earn this ongoing income, which helps to stabilize your business. A lot of us with YouTube channels, with blogs, we're gonna have kind of this up and down seasonality. You're gonna go through some years that are really good because your topic is trending, and other years your topic is just not quite as popular, and it's just gonna be up and down. But if you can create an ongoing income by leveling up to this tier of information product, this is where you can make so much more money. It was this tier of information product, after working for about 1.5 years through an easy tier information product and a medium tier information product, that my partner at the time, my business partner, and I created Project 24 and launched it. And in the first 30 days of Project 24, we made over $100,000. and continued to make over $30,000 a month, and then grew and grew and grew to the point where $100,000 a month is kind of an average month with Project 24. That's pretty incredible, and you can do something like that yourself in whatever niche, whatever topic you have for your YouTube channel. Just work through this. Find an easy tier problem that you can solve for people, and then solve it for them. Even if you think the content is redundant from what's out there for free, package it up, put it together, and launch that easy information product and see what happens. If you have a fairly large audience or get lots of views because you have kind of an entertainment or highly spreadable topic on your channel, selling a bunch of $2 or $5 information products could make you a huge income, much more than you're making from ads or even from recommending some affiliate products and maybe getting some sponsorships. Try it out, I dare you, and let me know what happens. If you're already doing something like this, let me know in the comments below, or if you have ideas or questions about information products, I'd love to be able to answer them. Comment below, and we'll hope to see you in the next video.
This one was a lot of work, but it was also a lot of fun. Nathan and I met several times to figure out the criteria so that we'd be comparing them on similar things, and then we would split up and do a lot of research and then meet up again and compare and make sure we were comparing apples to apples, not apples to oranges. And it was just really fun to experiment with it. We really wanted to do this because we have been promoting VidIQ for a long time, and it was a little bit overdue. We want to stay up to date and make sure that VidIQ is still the best thing to promote, especially since we're affiliates for VidIQ. We don't want to be giving you biased information. We really want to make sure that VidIQ is the best value, especially compared to the competition. So we did this video and we promised to remain unbiased, and I promise we were. Actually, just watch the video. You'll see that we were. Hey channel makers, we have been VidIQ affiliates for a really long time, but we thought it was time to do a face-off between VidIQ and TubeBuddy so that we can be sure we are giving you the right information on which one you should be using. So we looked at all the different features, categorized the features into 9 different categories, and then ranked each one of them on a scale of 1 through 5. And so in this really in-depth video, we are going to tell you which one wins on each of those categories.
Okay, I have an idea, Juliet.
Okay.
Okay, I know we were planning on saving like the big reveal to the end. Can we just tell them now?
Let's do it.
Okay, honestly guys, after doing a ton of testing and research, we really just think you should use the free versions of both tools. Both VidIQ and TubeBuddy have really helpful features, but they're just a little bit different. And we were so shocked to find out how helpful the free versions of each of these tools were. Now, there are some paid features that we do think could be helpful in specific circumstances. So we are gonna be talking about that, and in the rest of this video, we're gonna be covering why we came to the conclusion only to use the free version to start out.
So we have links to both of them because we are affiliates now for both of them, but this video is not sponsored. We're not very biased because we're telling you to get the free versions, so we're not gonna get a huge affiliate income off of you getting the free versions of these tools.
Let's get into it.
All right, so I did most of the research on VidIQ. Nathan did the TubeBuddy research, and then we compared notes. The first thing we're gonna talk about is pricing. So they're pretty similar, but I think TubeBuddy obviously wins because the lowest tier is the same price on these. Yeah. The second one, VidIQ, is slightly more expensive, and VidIQ also has a third category. It's so different because what this one is it's their personal coaching, and so it's not like you're not really getting some features unless you get this most expensive one, aside from the coaching, which TubeBuddy doesn't have. If you guys want to see a video on that sometime, maybe we could sign up, not tell them that we're a channel, make it a little bit sneaky so that we don't get special treatment, and then let you know how that goes. But overall, TubeBuddy does win on the pricing.
All right, next up we have keyword research tools. And now both tools did have some keyword research, but for TubeBuddy specifically, their keyword tool primarily focused on keyword volume, competition, optimization, and keyword strength. So overall, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. It was a pretty decent, well-rounded keyword tool just based on the other tools that I've seen, but it wasn't anything like amazing, which is why it got the 3.5.
Yeah, so for me, I gave it 2.5 out of 5, and it was actually missing a couple features that the TubeBuddy one does have. A lot of them were the same, almost all of them were exactly the same, except VidIQ does not have the number of videos in search or related searches, which I think those would actually be pretty significant ones, at least compared to the others. So to me, that was a big deal, and it gets a point less than TubeBuddy. So I'd say TubeBuddy wins this one as well. Okay, the next one is competitor analysis. This one's interesting because it is one of the few features, and I mean few, that we have actually used here since having VidIQ for a long time. It's something we do look at on occasion with the paid version. You can look at how your competitors are doing. And honestly, we don't care a lot how our competitors are doing. We care how we're doing. We compete with ourselves. But it is nice to know, especially if we're going through a little bit of a rough period with low views, it's nice to be able to look and say, oh, okay, it's maybe just the time of year. Everyone in the industry is a little bit down right now. It's not a big deal. Things like that. Now, I still ranked this one pretty low. I ranked it 2 out of 5 because one of their big features that they advertise is that you can see which of your competitors' videos your audience is watching. Well, when you specifically compare the competitors in your niche with other competitors, that's pretty helpful. But with those videos, a lot of it was just showing like your audience, they love this Mr. Beast video or this really random crime video. I'll put a screenshot of the videos that it says our audience is watching, and it's not relevant. Like most of the videos, they have nothing to do with anything we'd ever show on this channel, even trending things, like they're just not relevant. And so would we use it? Not really. And even the competitor feature, like we look at it maybe once every 3 to 6 months. It's not a huge part. We've used it, but it's not a huge part of our strategy here.
On the TubeBuddy side, I saw some very similar things. It was kind of nice to be able to see what my competitors' channels were looking like at the time, really just to see, like, to gauge, like, is this a me problem that's going on in my channel, or is it an industry problem? I really did like that about the tool. Overall, I gave this one a 2.5 out of 5, and the reason for that is just that all of the information that I saw, I could have easily just gone to my competitor's channel and found myself. It was just kind of, their most recent video views, there were a couple things that it was just nice to have all in one place packaged up on the TubeBuddy dashboard, but overall it just didn't seem to be that necessary, I guess.
Yeah, so convenient, but not really something
definitely.
you can't get for free.
Definitely. All right, that brings us to the support documentation category here. And maybe this one's a little bit of a funny category to add, but I was really, really impressed with TubeBuddy's support documentation. As I went to learn about all of the different features, I was opening tab after tab after tab of features, and it was so nice to be able to see, like, this is what the feature is, this is what it does, this is where to find it. I was just really, really impressed. I gave him a 4 out of 5. There was maybe a couple spelling errors or something, and maybe that's why I gave him a little bit lower. But overall, really, really well done. It just made it so much easier for me to use the tool.
When you first mentioned this category, I thought, what? Why are we doing it? But I'm really glad you did.
Yeah.
Because when you're using a new tool like this, the biggest risk, I think, is that you pay for it or just download the free version, and then you don't end up using it because you don't know what the features do or how to use them. So I'm glad we're diving into this, or that we did dive into this. VidIQ, I was less impressed though, because when you're trying, they have like the little information bubble and it's super vague on each thing, really, really vague. And then they have like this whole separate, feels like a separate website called VidIQ Academy. And then they have videos on how everything works, which is very in-depth, but for me, I wouldn't want to take the time to watch a full video on each feature and sift through. It just felt too time consuming, and I would rather them have been a little bit more specific on the platform itself. But they did have a lot of video content, so it seemed fair to give them a 3 out of 5 on that one.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the analytics for your own channel on TubeBuddy's side. So I have to admit, when I signed up for TubeBuddy, I was really excited about this. This was kind of like the core of what I thought would be the most helpful portion of the tool, I guess you could say. And I was just a little bit underwhelmed. It's not that it wasn't helpful. It was just that a lot of the data or numbers that I saw kind of added to my dashboard or kind of in the sidebar, it was just stuff that I could pretty easily access anyway. And so it's not that it was bad. I would say that it was just helpful, generally speaking, but it wasn't anything that I couldn't live without. And like if I clicked onto a video on my channel, I could see my video pull up, and then it would have some little analytics onto the side that I would have had to go into my channel dashboard or my analytics tab to get. So it was nice to have them right there on the video, but I would have just called it more of a convenience factor overall than I would anything else. So, and that's probably just a personal preference. There's probably some people who would just really, really love having all that there. And I should say, to give them some credit, TubeBuddy definitely does take some of the analytics from the YouTube dashboard, and they do some additional number crunching for you. But again, it was just stuff that I feel like I probably could have done myself. So under the free plan, 100%. Like, it's good because it's just helpful and convenient. But to pay for it, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah, so I was feeling the same way with VidIQ initially. I think I even wrote the exact same thing in my notes, like, what is here that I can't get from the regular YouTube analytics? Maybe that's a little harsh because, like you said, it is more convenient than the way you have to click through the YouTube analytics. But then I noticed a feature that VidIQ has that we haven't used here, but I think I might actually start trying to use it. And what it is that it shows you the top search terms that people are using to find your videos. So the videos you already have published. And that's almost a keyword research sort of thing, but I put it in this category because it's specific to your channel. And it's awesome to see, even though we don't focus on search a lot, it is good to see which videos of ours people are finding and what search terms are helping them find those videos, because sometimes it's not as direct as we would expect. So I gave that one a 4 out of 5. What did you give it?
And I gave mine a 3 out of 5.
Cool.
So they were close, but yeah, I'd say VidIQ definitely went out on that one. And now let's talk about the AI features. This is one that everyone wants to know about, right? AI is just going crazy in this industry. So on the TubeBuddy side, they really had 2 main tools that utilize AI, and one was the title generator, and then their other one was a thumbnail analyzer. Good features overall. I think that, again, helpful. The thumbnail analyzer kind of gives you some ideas, maybe a little bit of direction with your thumbnails. And then the title generator, I tested it kind of just versus ChatGPT, kind of like your run-of-the-mill AI type stuff, and it was just very similar. So overall, I gave them a 3 out of 5 here. It's not that I thought that the AI tools were bad, it's just that I maybe expected a little bit more.
Yeah, that makes sense. So for VidIQ, I'm excited. I've got some juicy stuff on this one, but we also have 2 more videos coming in a couple days, and one of them is TubeBuddy specific, so that we can go like really in depth on all of the TubeBuddy features. And then one of them is VidIQ specific, so we can go super in depth on that instead of like this comparison battle video. So stick around for those videos. But, and I'm gonna share more about this and that because there was 2 really interesting things. So one of them I'm gonna tell you now, which is that they have this whole AI like suite. They're really going full in on the AI, and they'll give you like full video ideas, and then you can kind of just keep going deeper. Like, okay, well, give me community post ideas, give me video outlines, then they'll give you not just the outline, but a title. They'll almost like make every aspect of the video for you. And it wasn't bad. But there's a catch. It was a little bit bad. I'll tell you about that in the other video. But one funny thing I tested was I said, okay, make me a video outline about VidIQ versus TubeBuddy and which tool is better. So it gave me this really, really long outline, but here is the summary at the end. It said, so which one should you choose? Well, it depends on your specific needs. If you're focused on keyword research and analytics, VidIQ might be your best bet. But if you want an all-in-one toolbox that streamlines your YouTube journey, TubeBuddy is second to none. In the end, it's not about choosing between VidIQ and TubeBuddy. Both tools can take your YouTube game to the next level. Try them both to see which one suits your style.
I like this AI.
I gave the AI 2 out of 5 because there was just a catch that I wasn't too happy about, but it's robust. It's for sure robust. They're testing out a lot of stuff, and it might get better.
Cool. All right, the next category was single platform features. So this is just a feature that one platform had that the other didn't. On the TubeBuddy side, of course, as everyone would probably guess, it was the A/B thumbnail tester. And this is one that TubeBuddy is very well known for. We did some testing with it, and I did a bunch of research on it, and it was really interesting to see how they did the A/B testing, which is essentially you upload your regular video with a regular thumbnail, and then you go into TubeBuddy and you upload a second thumbnail. And the way that they test it is they run one for 24 hours, and then they run the next one for 24 hours, and then you can set a period of time, like up to 14 days or something, maybe even longer. I think it's a great idea. I love the idea of being able to A/B test thumbnails. I think most of us really want that. I mean, we've been waiting on YouTube for years to come out with this feature. I think that the way they're approaching it is probably the best they can, but I think it's a little bit, what do you say, like Stone Age, I guess. Like, to only be able to test it for 24 hours and then switch it out, that's not a true A/B test. The first 24 hours of the thumbnail is going to look very different than the second 24 hours after you post your video. And so anyway, I think like good for them for having it out there, just since nobody else is really offering that. But I wish that it was just a little bit better.
Yeah, it would be great if YouTube would help us out a little bit. Or even help the tools out so that they can offer something better.
And of course, I forgot. I gave them a 3 out of 5 for this. Cool feature, probably could use some improvement, but it's probably just not something that they could do right now, realistically.
So for me, the more in-depth analytics is basically the only thing that VidIQ seems to have that I could find. Let me know if you know something else that TubeBuddy doesn't. The AI features are another one, but we compared that. Like TubeBuddy technically has AI features. They just don't have as much. So I guess this is kind of similar to that. Honestly, it doesn't feel like VidIQ has any like really unique thing that TubeBuddy doesn't, except except the big one, the biggest one that there is. This is the only feature we've like really consistently used all the time since we've had VidIQ, and that is that you can see the thumbnail on the side once you click into the video. I don't know how helpful that is for the average creator. For us, we use it all the time because we're like looking at a video, we're analyzing the thumbnail, we're trying to remember what thumbnail we had, things like that. It comes in handy all the time. It's also part of the free version, so you don't need to pay for it. I love
the free version.
I know, it's great. So that's like our favorite feature here. That's the first thing I notice if I am on like a browser or an account that doesn't have VidIQ. That's the first thing I notice. Like, where's my thumbnail? I need to see the thumbnail on the side.
All right, next up was user interface and kind of like overall helpfulness, friendliness. 3 out of 5 for TubeBuddy. Right off the bat, it was not super intuitive to use. And, you know, they had their little icons all over that I could click on, and it would open a menu, and I'd, you know, click on a menu item, and it would take me back to a website. Some would take me to my dashboard. It wasn't completely intuitive. I will say that the support documentation saved me here. So I gave them a 3 out of 5 here, just because it wasn't terrible. As I clicked around, I was able to find different things, but there were some things that I did need the support docs to be able to find.
Okay, so as I'm listening to you say that, I was thinking, well, I must have given it a 4 out of 5 or a 5 out of 5, because VidIQ had some pretty solid like user interface. And then I looked, I gave it a 3 out of 5. So I guess I'm just way more harsh with my ranking system than
maybe
you are.
Maybe we need to like adjust the numbers up, maybe a little bit up for you and a little bit down for me. I think that I tend to maybe be a little bit overly nice about it. Maybe you're a little bit more harsh. So it'll probably all balance out.
That's funny, yeah. So I gave it a 3 out of 5, but VidIQ seemed very good to me. Easy to use, easy to navigate. It wasn't too cluttered, like felt pretty clear about where to find everything. The information, the only thing I didn't like, which is more about the support documentation, like I said, is just that it was vague. Like they would say something like, oh, this is what this feature means, but then you look into it and you're like, well, how are you getting that information? Things like that. But overall, like it looked good, easy to use. I like it a lot.
Next up, we had tagging, and I wish I could just show like a screenshot. Maybe I will of just our notes here. Tagging, and then on our VidIQ and TubeBuddy column, it just says stupid. Maybe you'd like to explain that for us.
Sure. So they both have very robust tagging tools to start with. To be fair, a lot of really helpful things like VidIQ, you can go look at the tags easily and copy and paste them that other channels have used. Which we've done in the past for our own videos. The problem with all these wonderful tagging features is that YouTube has recently, it's been a while actually now, has said that tags don't matter. And several creators have run experiments that also seem to strongly suggest that tags do not matter. Descriptions, even the keywords in your description appears to matter. The kinds of tests they've done is that they'll tag a video with some like random string of letters and numbers, and the tag doesn't make it show up anymore. If they put that random string of letters and numbers in the description, it does. So if tags, you know, when YouTube says like it only matters if something's commonly misspelled. And if it's commonly misspelled, then, you know, you don't have to like use any fancy tool to figure out what tags to use. Just type any other version of the spelling in the tag. So yeah, okay, they have a lot of robust features, but we don't really think it matters.
It just seems like almost a little bit misleading, and maybe not intentionally. I would assume not intentionally, but just like when I look at a YouTube growth tool, I would hope that all the features would just do their best to help me get to success, right? And at some point, maybe when tagging was more important, that was the case here, but I would just hate to see people spend a lot of time working on that if it just didn't really help them at all. So that's why we wrote stupid.
Yeah, and to be fair, when they developed these tools, YouTube, I think, was treating tags a lot differently, so it makes sense they wouldn't want to get rid of them. But yeah, you don't want to waste your time on something that doesn't matter.
All right, and here we go. Last but not least, we have the overall helpfulness score. So on the TubeBuddy side, my overall conclusion was just that this is a tool of convenience. There are so many tools or features in here that I thought were really helpful. And as a creator, I could definitely see myself adding them onto all of my channels. The only thing that I would be concerned about is if me as a creator started to use the tool as a crutch. And if I built them all in, if I built these tools into my processes early on, I'm just going to become reliant on them. So I would say like it's a good thing to have. I'd say TubeBuddy is a great tool to have. We've found so much value, especially in the free version. We found that there was just the most value opportunity there. And so I would say use it, but just make sure that your systems and everything that you do isn't reliant on it. And if it can save you some time along the way, then that's awesome. I think that that's the big goal here, is it's a time saver.
VidIQ, I gave them 2 out of 5. That might be a little harsh. It's especially the free version. Like hey, if it's free, I'll take 2 out of 5 any day. It's still better than nothing. It's very much better than nothing. I would put it on any browser, any channel I had. The thumbnail viewer is great. The daily ideas are convenient. They're similar to ChatGPT, but it's more convenient and to be able to save them on the platform. The competitor features are kind of cool. There's a few features that are kind of cool. Overall, nothing that you can't do without VidIQ, really, aside from maybe the thumbnail thing. You can still get to see the thumbnail without it. That's the thing with VidIQ, it's very convenient, but there was almost nothing. Even TubeBuddy has some features that you cannot do without it. VidIQ, almost everything you can just do on the YouTube platform itself. And I think that's another overall thing to remember, is that there is no secret thing in these tools that is going to be the difference, because YouTube also wants you to succeed. So they're trying to give you as many resources as you need. These tools both had charts of the best times to publish. Well, so does YouTube, because YouTube wants you to know when the best time to publish is. So, I mean, I guess for the price, if we're talking about value for the price, then 5 out of 5 for the free, but 2 out of 5 probably for any of the paid versions.
Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully it's been really helpful for you. We've put a lot of time in testing these tools. As Julia mentioned, we have individual videos talking about TubeBuddy itself and VidIQ separately, not as a comparison. So go check out those videos. Hopefully you'll find those helpful as well. Get signed up for the free versions of these tools. They are helpful, they are convenient, they will save you time. Good luck with your creating, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks.
I really hope I wasn't too critical in that one. I have a bad habit of coming off as extremely critical, but none of the tools are bad. I just think the free versions are probably the best bet for most people. And I want to give you honest opinions, even though we'd make more money off our affiliate link with VidIQ. If I told you otherwise, I want to give it to you straight. All right, moving on. In this next one, Ricky started a new YouTube channel, and he decided to do a challenge where he was going to post 30 videos straight in 30 days straight. So every single day he was going to publish a video, and he did not do very much pre-work at all. So pretty much every single day he had to buckle down and make YouTube videos and publish them. Now, it did really well. He's off to a great start with that channel, so watch the story here.
So today I want to walk you through a bit of a framework that I've been developing as I've been going through the hardest YouTube challenge I've ever done. This challenge might just break me. At the beginning of the year, I set a goal for myself that I would achieve a full-time income within just 1 year. And I got way behind on blog content. Honestly, this has been the most challenging year I've experienced. And it's been really difficult, and I have not had time. And yet, I'm not giving up on the challenge. So I started a challenge within the challenge. And that challenge was to create and publish 30 videos and publish them over the course of 30 days. I started recording the first video at the beginning of August, but I started the publishing schedule August 21st. Now, I'm not just creating and publishing shorts. I'm not creating a video and then clipping it into 12 shorts. I'm not doing any of that. I'm trying to create the kind of videos that people should come to expect from this channel, even when they're watching it 3-4 years from now. And it's something I am focused on and creating 1 video a week. That's hard to do on a daily basis, and it's forced me to stretch myself way beyond what I thought I could do. It's also forced me to simplify, and that's what we're going to talk about in the rest of this video. The steps to simplify your content creation process are, well, actually really simple. A lot of YouTube teachers out there are going to give you hundreds and hundreds of different things you can do to level up, and it's really easy to look at each of those things and feel like, oh, I got to do all of them. And if you just try to do 10% all at once, you will be overwhelmed, and your videos probably won't be very good. So it's really important to make sure that you're focused on the basics, and then that if there's some aspect of video creation you want to work on leveling up, just focus on one at a time. Don't do too many. Let's focus on one. Today, I want to focus on simplifying. In order to publish 30 videos in 30 days, I am having to do a lot of video editing. That's taking up the most of my time. Editing, for most of you, I hear this in the comments all the time, is the most time-consuming process. But also, creating videos and filming those videos has a huge impact on the amount of time it takes to edit them. So building a simple sort of template or framework for how you make videos is a really good way to simplify this whole process and make sure that each video isn't taking you forever. So whenever I plan a video, I start with a couple of questions. The first question here is, what is the one main takeaway I want people to have from this video? For this video itself, My main takeaway, what I want you to walk away from this with is ignore a lot of noise and to simplify your process. The next thing I ask is, what from this topic could I share that would make people want to come back and watch more of my videos? What can I present that would make people want to subscribe? Sometimes it's what can I do? Sometimes it's how can I do it? Can I do it in a way that will engage people or encourage people, that will help them to feel better and to actually be able to improve their lives? And then the third question I ask is, what can I invite viewers to do as a result of watching this video? Every video should have some call to action. Now, it's really great in the middle of a video to say, if that was really helpful to you, I hope you'll click the like button. That sort of thing can encourage people to do something that they just might have overlooked. But don't waste a lot of time on that. People don't want to be interrupted from why they came to the video because you're making a request of them. So keep it simple, make it fun, and encourage people to like your video, but that's not the main call to action I'm talking about. In every video, usually somewhere toward the end of like the reason they came to the video, at that point, we want to encourage them to do something else. Then I just focus on a very simple outline for my videos. I start with the brief introduction, and I spend a little bit of time planning that so that there's a bit of a hook. Then I have the main content. If you script your main content, it will take you longer to plan your videos, and the video will probably come out feeling pretty flat. You have to be a little bit extra energetic and happy, to the point that it feels a little bit absurd. Otherwise, it just won't come through. And when you script your content, it's not gonna come through. Okay, the next step to simplifying this whole process is to really simplify the editing. I'm gonna give you just a few tips here because otherwise this video is gonna get super long. The first one though, is to keep the filming simple so that you don't have to do as much editing. It's really easy to feel like your filming needs to be perfect. The reality is that if you let certain slips stay in, you're gonna show flaws, you're gonna show humanness. And it takes flaws to build connection. People don't connect well with robots. Think about if you've ever had to watch a training video, a company training video, and how fake it all seems. It's all perfect. They're doing everything right. The fire alarm goes off and everybody stands up from their desk and walks straight out their door and down the hallway, and in a nice straight single file line, they walk down the stairs. Have you ever actually been in a fire drill or had the fire alarm go off in a workplace? That is not what happens. In your videos, if you don't behave like a human behaves, nobody will ever relate to you. So allow yourself to make some mistakes every now and then and to keep them in the video. In a video on this challenge channel literally the video that was published today, I couldn't remember a word. I said the wrong thing. And I was like, oh, that was silly. I should know better. And I said the right thing. And I actually turned it into a little bit of a joke. And my wife was watching the video and she texted me and was like, this is my favorite video so far. And she specifically pointed that out and how that was funny and endearing. Allowing yourself to be human in your videos will save you a ton of time on the editing and also make you more relatable to the people watching your videos. Next is to not overdo it with additional cameras and with B-roll. It's really easy to gather a ton of B-roll and then have to spend hours sifting through it to find the right little clips to include in your video. If you plan the video out and you're like, well, I could really use a few little clips of B-roll, then go get those few little clips of B-roll and then include them in your video. It can be really helpful to have tons of B-roll that you can use and just reuse on your videos. That's fantastic, but it can be really time consuming. If you're in a time crunch, do your best to plan the video itself and to get only the footage that you need and include it in the video. But if you're doing this as a side hustle right now, you need to try to be a minimalist when it comes to filming and only get as many takes as it takes to get it right enough, not perfect, just right enough. The next tip is to take any little cut-ins that you're gonna use, if you're gonna use text on the screen, any of that kind of stuff, create it one time and then reuse it. Go to your previous video, highlight those little things, copy them, Command or Control C, copies. Go to the new video and paste it in there in the right spot and then just change the words and save yourself several minutes, maybe an hour or more in every video by not having to recreate something you already created. Next is thumbnails. You can spend a lot of time trying to take perfect pictures for thumbnails, but you're like, oh, I don't have a photographer, I don't have a studio. How am I supposed to take really good pictures to make, Mr. Beast quality thumbnails? One fantastic way to do this is literally when the camera's rolling to film your video, at the very beginning or at the very end, wherever you want to do this, just take a minute and strike a few poses that you feel like would be appropriate for the thumbnail of the video you're creating. And hold it for a couple of seconds looking at the camera, and then move on. If you try every time to find a good frame from your actual video content, you can spend, I have wasted a lot of time, probably an hour in some cases, trying to find a really good frame. So take a second, strike a pose, and then you can move on and you can use one of those frames from that and use that to create a thumbnail. On top of that, whatever software you're gonna use to create your thumbnails, just create some templates you can reuse. I use Photoshop for mine because I have Photoshop, but I don't build a new file every single time. I take one Photoshop file that we've already used to create a thumbnail. I put the new photos in, and I have the same backdrops, and I have the same color scheme and all that stuff. And now they've made it so easy, right? It's just boom, there, I add a little gradient in the background, I change the words, I move things around just a little bit so it looks really nice and unique, not just like my last thumbnail, and it's hard to even tell. That's what I'm doing on this channel right now. Next, we want to keep the publishing as simple as possible. You can spend a long time trying to write really good video descriptions. I write a few sentences, right? If there's anything that I promise to link to in the video, I put it there in the description. I also usually pin a comment on my own video. If there's links, I'll put them in that comment and I'll pin that comment because people see the comments a lot more than they see the video description. If you're going to do timestamps, fine, but you can also just let YouTube create their own timestamps or just not do them at all. Simplify and don't feel like you have to do all of the things because each one of those little things that you do might have an impact, but if it does, it's probably gonna be very little. The other thing though that I do when I publish videos is I don't publish videos immediately when I upload them. If at all possible, set a publishing date and time, whatever. If you're gonna publish every Tuesday at 2 p.m., that's fine, do it. But don't upload your video Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. Upload your video at least a few hours before, upload it as private or whatever, let it process fully. That way the people that watch your video will get to see a full quality version of your video and not some really low definition version that's not gonna be a very good experience. If you can give yourself some sort of challenge, if you publish weekly, that's fine. Maybe say, you know what, for the next 2 weeks, or maybe over the next 2 weeks, I'm gonna make one extra video. Just give yourself a challenge that's gonna push you beyond what you're currently doing. I also just want to encourage you that this all gets easier, it's better, the more you do it. If your videos aren't perfect now, that's fine, neither are mine. And I've been doing this for like 8 years. Give yourself room to grow. Most people would rather you just be you. But right now, what I want you to do is figure out how you're gonna simplify your own video process. That's gonna make the most benefit for you and the biggest difference for you on your channel. Go make that happen, and we'll just see you next time.
And then there was the time that Smokey the Bear was a guest star on our channel, and we ate extremely hot pizza. But it all started with this very cinematic shot that Jake and Cody put together for a video on secrets to filming in very difficult spaces.
Hey Julia,
Yeah,
I think we should make a kitchen video.
that's a really good idea. Didn't Ricky already film a kitchen video here though?
Yeah, he did. He had a pretty big setup for showing his process for canning berries and making jam.
Do you have any tips for filming in the kitchen?
Oh yeah. Let's go to Ricky's house and I'll show you how I'd do it. We're gonna be using some less expensive equipment today since most new creators don't have a huge budget right off the bat. So we're gonna be filming off of a smartphone as well as a mirrorless camera. And then for lighting, we're using this ring light here to fill in the subject and an LED panel to help fill in some of the background. Then for audio, I always love using my lavalier microphone. Makes it real easy to listen to the subject, but we see a lot of folks in cooking videos using shotgun microphones. Gives you directional control. One or the other would likely do. You don't necessarily need both, but it definitely steps up your audio versus using just what your phone picks up. Now, the second thing you want to figure out is your framing. Now, in these demonstration videos, you're gonna first start out with a talking head shot like this, where you're gonna tell the audience what it is you're going to be teaching. Second, you're gonna be showing yourself demonstrating what it is you're teaching. And then third is showing the finished product. You'll wanna pick out locations that are visibly pleasing and aren't overexposed by light coming in from the outside. Now, some overexposure is forgivable as long as it's not taken away from the subject. So if you have a small window that's blown out in the background, or maybe an appliance that has some reflected light coming off of it, as long as it's not too distracting from the subject, go ahead and move on. Now, if it is too distracting, then you'll either want to diffuse the light that's coming in or just pick a different angle or location. Now, this is where we chose to do our talking head scene because we got a nice kitchen as our backdrop and quite a bit of natural light helping to fill the environment. And like we were saying earlier, we got the ring light and the LED panel helping to light the subject in the background. If overhead lights aren't working for you, then you can just go get a shop light from a hardware store, aim it up against the ceiling, and then it's going to give you a diffused light that's bouncing down and gives you a much more even tone than just say those can lights are. Now for these demonstration shots, the trick is to make it interesting. And to do that, you want to limit what's in frame to keep the audience focused on what it is you're demonstrating. The subject here is the food, so you want to get a close-up on that to keep the audience focused. These close-up shots allow you to use a low aperture, giving you a beautiful effect. These shots are often shot top-down from the chef's perspective, or a low-angle shot like you see here. Once you figured out where you want to do these shots, the next thing to figure out is framing and lighting. So get your camera set up to where the framing's just right and see how it looks. From there, you might need to add light or diffuse light that's coming in to help with any overexposure. But once you get that squared away and the shot is thoughtfully laid out, we're ready to record.
Wait, don't forget the third and most important step, which is audio.
I've heard many times that bad video is more forgivable than bad audio. So this is probably the first area to invest in as a new creator. You'll notice your recordings have way more echo than you hear with your natural ear. So you'll want to control with your microphone what sounds are being picked up. Dealing with echoes in the kitchen can be especially difficult because of all the hard surfaces for the sound to bounce off of. So you want your microphone to be as close to you as possible. That's where using a lavalier microphone is awesome because you're able to clip it right up here next to your neck, so it's only picking up the sound coming out of you, the subject. But you can also clip this lavalier microphone down next to, say, the cutting board if you're trying to get the sound of you cutting the apple and the knife hitting the cutting board. But the lavalier microphone doesn't give you directional control like the shotgun microphone does. Now, if these options aren't yet in your budget, you can use something like a pillow, blanket, or even rugs to help limit that extra sound that's bouncing.
Warning! Kitchens have flames, which have been scientifically proven to start fires. So keep flammable objects clear of flames.
Well, that's gonna do it for us today.
All right, in Ricky's kitchen, there was a ton of natural light, but we want to show you how to get a similar effect when you're in a really dark kitchen without any windows. There are some windows way back there, but they're back in the living room. We have them shut so you can get an idea of what it would be like to film at night or in a kitchen that's really dark, like this one. So there's some benefits to that. You don't have to worry about clouds moving or other challenges with windows, but it means you have to produce all of the light on your own. So we have a lot of light we're gonna go over. The first we're gonna talk about are these hanging fixture lights. Now we decided to turn off the can lights because the can lights were very yellow toned. And we wanna use a more cool white toned light because first of all, the difference, the contrast between the two of them just doesn't look right to have some really cool toned lights and some really warm toned lights. And also in a kitchen setup, it makes sense to have that white clean look. Another big benefit of these overhanging fixture lights is that they are in front of me, so it makes me really stand out from the background. We have really dark cabinets here, and I don't want those to get lost and kind of disappear either. So there's a panel light to the right over here at an angle, which does two things. It reduces glare on all the hardware, and it also makes the wood and the cabinets stand out a little bit so they don't totally disappear, and it adds some interest. Okay, now over here, we have a ring light, and usually those are used as key lights, but we're using this one very differently because we have it angled up at the ceiling to give an overall diffused light source without having to use the can lights, because the can lights are creating some harsh shadows. They just don't look nearly as good as this big diffused bright white light. And then we're gonna use another panel light because that's what we have on hand. And that is gonna be the key light that brightens me a little more. And these panel lights are pretty affordable. So definitely check those out. We have it linked in our description. Now you may have noticed that we have the framing with the camera off to an angle a little bit. And that's mainly because with all of the lights we have all over the place, these stainless steel appliances looked insane with so much reflection. And so that really helps with that. And another benefit is that with this fairly small kitchen, it also adds depth and makes the kitchen look a little bigger than it actually is. Okay, now we're gonna get into some demonstration shots. And again, we're framed in on the counter, but this time from head on. Now, the very first thing you wanna do is get your kitchen absolutely spotless. What are you doing? Just kidding. All we have to do is get this much clean because that's all you're gonna see in the frame. So don't let a messy kitchen stop you from filming. Now I'm gonna show you how to do a demonstration kitchen shot. And I'm wearing gloves because Smokey told me to be careful with hot things. And this is an extremely hot thing. This is the ghost pepper limited edition pizza. I think it's seasonal. They bring it back every year from Flying Pie Pizza here in Idaho. And it is extremely hot. I'm gonna eat it at the end of this video and I promise you I will be in tears. We're using gloves because I've touched my eyes before after touching this and it is not fun at all. Okay, so these bendy tripods are really cheap and they're awesome for getting shots like this. It's giving me a really good top-down view. And I like the phone screen because it's nice and big, so I can see exactly what I'm doing when cooking. Another angle you can try if you don't have a bendy tripod and you don't want to get one is just doing a regular tripod with your phone to the side like this. Now, if you can do both, that's even better. You probably don't have two phones, but you could always alternate. You could do this for a while so you can get that view and then switch to this for a while. This gives you a really nice cinematic shot, and you can also see the food fairly well. If you only have this camera, it'll be okay. Every kitchen is very different, which is why we wanted to show you multiple examples so you could use different aspects of each of them to make good videos in your own kitchen. So pick different things that are gonna work for you. Now it's time to eat this pizza, and comment with a skull emoji if you wanna see more videos like this. Okay, here goes. Takes a second to kick in. Jake, come over here. Come here, Jake. Have some pizza.
I don't know about that. I'm not very good at pasta.
So, I don't know.
No?
Wait. Put this on.
Because it's not hot. Good enough. It's like, oh. Oh. That's way hotter than...
His face is sweating already. You gonna finish your piece?
Oh my gosh, you paid money for this?
This is the last piece of the whole pizza. I've been saving it for this occasion.
You're crying. Not me. I'm not crying. You're crying.
I'm not crying, you are.
Oh. Ooh, that's good enough. I can handle. Oh, gosh.
You okay?
All right, going for the milk. Okay. Still torture. Oh. Oh gosh.
Give us a like if you appreciate it.
This isn't gonna be enough milk. No. Oh gosh. You're full on crying. You got a tear all the way down your chin. That's how you know it's good.
Like and subscribe.
Oh gosh. It doesn't go away. Oh gosh. That was a bad idea.
I'm not crying, you are. Do you know how your tongue sometimes gets like puckery when you think about really sour or really spicy foods? Watching that makes my tongue feel weird again. And my eyes are getting watery too. It was really hot. But nobody has to cry about trying to understand the YouTube algorithm. Seriously though, this is a next level video that Ricky and Nathan put together, so pay close attention.
If you're not getting the success that you think that you should be getting on YouTube yet, this is the video that you've been waiting for. Give us 15 minutes and it's gonna change your YouTube life. About a year ago, we presented to you our model for the YouTube algorithm, how the algorithm works, and talked a little bit about how you could use that to your advantage. Today, we want to dive into that deeper. You see, because over the last year, as we've been helping other people with their channels and as we've been building out our own channels, we've been looking at it through this lens, and we just have some new things to share with you. So that's what we're going to go into today. This is a high-level overview of how the majority of the YouTube algorithm works.
Guys, there's so much that goes into the YouTube algorithm, and this is just a piece of it. We're going to break it down for you so that it's just easy enough to understand, so that by the time you're done with this video, you're gonna walk away knowing what you need to do with your channel to just improve and actually get some success.
So let's walk through a little bit of what this means, how it works, define a few terms so that it's easy for you to follow. First of all, it looks like a target. Really, we've got 3 concentric circles, and what this represents is just all of the topics on YouTube. And really what we've got here is 3 rings, mostly because we wanted to show that there's a separation from the outside to the inside. You see here where we said broad and specific? This is about the topic of the video. The broader the topic is, the broader the appeal, the less people have to know about the topic for your video to appeal to them or for it to even be relevant. So this would be something like entertainment heavy channels fall way up here. You don't have to be searching for anything specific to be interested in that video. Meanwhile, down here, we could be talking about how to change out the O2 sensor on a 1993 Mustang. That's a pretty specific thing that somebody's looking for. And so you have to know a lot about that topic before that video has any relevance at all.
Okay, something really quick that I wanna say, so this is flat, right? We're looking at this 2D model here, but you really have to think of it as almost like a globe, right?
Yeah.
This doesn't perfectly represent how topics are on YouTube, because according to this, there's only 2 adjacent topics to your topic specifically. But we all know that's not true. There are probably hundreds, maybe even thousands of adjacent topics.
And so that's what these wedges are. But each web represents kind of a topic. We can get as broad or as granular as you want with a wedge. And so that's where we can apply this model. We can be pretty specific. Let me give you an example. If I could say that the topic of our channel is off-roading and say that that's a wedge. But realistically, it's like, well, I have content about ATVs and I have content about dirt bikes and I have content about e-bikes. But also within my ATV content, I have kind of more entertaining videos, but I also have videos about how to do modifications, and I have videos about financing an ATV. And so we could put mods and financing and stuff. We could make mini wedges out of each of those. Don't overthink it. It's not that big of a deal. Just look at the topic of your channel as kind of a wedge and just think about kind of how tight we're gonna stay.
Okay, let's define a term here, channel lens. All right, so we're gonna do,
blue.
yes,
We'll use the blue marker.
Yes, so we're gonna be drawing up some circles here on our little diagram. And channel lens represents what you are shooting for with your channel, what you think your channel is about, what you think your videos are about, everything that is your perception of your channel.
The next one is the audience profile. We're gonna use red. This is what YouTube thinks your channel is about. It's probably not gonna match your channel lens. And that's one of the problems that a lot of people are running into, which is why their videos are not spreading. We'll also use a couple of other markers to represent individual videos, as well as individual people within an audience.
As we go through some of these examples, as we talk about different sizes and types of channels, this is all gonna start to make a ton more sense. I think it's time to get into it.
Yeah, let's do it. So here is how it works. Let's say you have a brand new YouTube channel and you start putting out a couple of videos. You have your topic, we're gonna say it's this one right here, and you make your first video, and it's about some aspect of your topic, and it's maybe kind of a medium appeal topic. It's not something that literally anybody on YouTube could watch and find it appealing, but it's also not something like really specific like we talked about before. And so maybe it falls around right here. There's a specific video that you made. The next video that you make is on the same topic. The difference is that it's pretty specific. It's a tutorial. It's, how to do something pretty specific within that niche. Let's say it's topically very, very close to the first one, but it's down here. The next video you make, you think, oh, I want to do something a little bit, maybe it could go viral. So I'm going to stay on the exact same topic, but this time I'm gonna make a video that is just really entertaining. I'm gonna go all out on my cinematography, and it's gonna be way out here, very broad appeal. Your next video, you're like, well, I've kind of exhausted that topic. Nobody's watching my videos yet, because I've only made 3. So I'm gonna stay on the same topic, but I'm gonna cover like something pretty different, but it's within the same topic, so it's way over here, right? And over time, as you make more videos, you're kind of doing this stuff. Now, what's going on when your channel is brand new is YouTube has no idea who your audience is. Your channel lens, what you're trying to create is this. That's your whole channel lens, and it's pretty big. It's probably too big. And YouTube doesn't really know quite what's going on here. And so what they do is with every video, They're gonna experiment with people based on the topic, based on the kind of videos that other people watch. And so when they find videos that seem kind of similar to yours, they're gonna try to show your videos to the people that watch those other videos that are similar to yours. But they're gonna do it pretty conservatively. They're not gonna wanna like show it to everybody that watches those other videos because they just don't know how it's gonna do. You made this video, this person watches it, cool. Now, this same person, they also watch a video right here, and they watch another video right here, and maybe one right here. Different channels, all different topics. Well, that's cool. That person likes all those other different things. So maybe YouTube says, well, let's try that video on another person that also watched this video. And they do, and that person doesn't click on it. So they say, okay, well, we'll try it one more time. And they do to another person that watches that same video, and they also don't click on it. They're like, okay, well, there's not a correlation between that video and this video. Maybe let's try it with that one. You can see where I'm going here. There's a lot of experimentation that happens for YouTube to figure out what your channel is about. And if they start to have success with one of your videos and it starts to get viewed by people, they're gonna start to finally figure out what an audience profile should look like, but they're not gonna have that kind of success with all of your videos. So you've got this big channel lens, but YouTube's like, I think the channel audience profile is that. That's what it should be. People who regularly watch videos that correlate well with that little segment, that's who we're gonna show it to.
Okay, this right here is why small creators think that YouTube hates them.
Yeah.
We as small creators, like when we're just starting a YouTube channel, like all of these dots representing videos, we only have 2, 3, maybe 10 videos out there, and they're probably a little bit all over the place.
Right.
Well, YouTube just has to do their best to figure out who your audience is, and they're going to start small. And so many of the videos you create as a small creator will just fall outside of what YouTube thinks your audience profile is. And so it's not that YouTube hates you, it's just like what Ricky said, they're testing very conservatively and they're starting small. And so what do you do to overcome this? You really just keep publishing, but you want to stay kind of centered. You want to stay kind of focused on some of these topics that you originally created on. And we've actually seen some really cool recent success with this.
Absolutely. So I've been working on a brand new channel for my project Double Time. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we've got some other videos that talk about this. But on a brand new channel that I haven't told you what it is yet, and I will eventually, I published 30 videos in 30 days. And it was a ton of work. But it was really cool. For the first few days, basically nothing. YouTube showed my videos to a few different people, and that was it. And I tried a few things. I did a few shorts and stuff because those YouTube will experiment a little faster with those, but nothing massive. But then I started to have a video that got a little bit more traction, and YouTube was like, here's one. And they got some data around that video, and they figured out maybe here's an audience profile. So when the next video came out, they're like, okay, well, let's test it on those people. And every subsequent video started to get viewed by more and more people. And as that happens, they get more data. I didn't go all over the place. My videos are more like that.
Much closer together.
Right? And so they try the next video with that audience, and they're like, oh, well, that worked. Maybe the audience profile's a little bit more like that. And then the next video goes out and they're like, oh, maybe it's a little bit more like that. And it keeps expanding the audience profile. And the more that audience profile expands, the more success I'm gonna have with all of these other videos I made on my channel. So advice number 1, for a new channel or a small channel, you might have been doing this for a long time but not found the success you want. It's to define your channel lens. Don't just do whatever and end up with the channel lens that just happens to happen based on the content that you make.
That's why some creators literally take years. And you may be in that boat. It's because if you just go all over the place, YouTube takes a long time to figure it out. But if you stay focused on a smaller portion of your topic, YouTube is gonna figure out so much faster.
If you say, my channel lens is gonna be, I'm gonna cross topics a little bit, but here's my channel lens, then when you make that video, this brown one that's kind of in the middle of that lens, and it doesn't do that well, okay, that's fine. Well, I'll try one here, and I'll try one here. And finally, one of these takes off, right? And YouTube gets people watching it. And so you're starting to get views on this one. Lots of persons watching your video here, right? That's awesome. Well, now YouTube's like, awesome, now we have an understanding of what this channel's about, and they build this little audience profile here that over time will start to fill more of your channel lens. The thing is that over time, you may end up with an audience profile that doesn't quite match what you think it's supposed to be. This is one of the big explanations for why sometimes you create a video that you think is a perfect fit. Like, awesome, well, I'm gonna make this video right here. That's outside of the audience profile YouTube has for you. And so YouTube doesn't know who to show it to. It tries it with your normal audience, and some of your audience, see this part where it overlaps like a Venn diagram? Part of your audience really liked it. But there's this big part of who your audience is that maybe you didn't even realize was part of your audience, that they don't have any interest in that video, so they don't watch it, and it doesn't spread as far. So the better that you can define your channel lens and grow the audience profile to fill your whole lens and potentially expand beyond that, that's what's gonna help make more and more of your videos more successful.
All right, in last year's video, one of the big questions we got in the comments was, what about viral videos? There are a lot of small creators who work for month after month, maybe year after year, and they don't have very many successful videos, but they'll have one just take off. Well, what about that? Because I think that this is really cool, but I would be interested to see, like, maybe we could show them, how does that apply?
You have this channel, maybe your channel lens isn't very well defined. So you do make this video way out here. And let's say that YouTube guesses right. They show it to somebody, they really liked it. They show it to the next person, they really liked it. The algorithms do their thing. And suddenly this video just blows up and you're just getting millions and millions and millions of little X's, right? People, individual people watching that video. Well, now YouTube says, okay, if we look at all the views across this channel, they're very heavily weighted toward that video. So they say, well, okay, here's the audience profile. The problem is that all the rest of the videos on your channel are here. And so now, if any of these people that watched your viral video go check out your channel before subscribing, they're like, oh, well, none of the rest of this is really for me, because I don't really care about 93 Mustangs. I don't have one of those. But that cool racing video, that was awesome. See that, how different those are? Like very broad appeal, very specific. And even some of these, okay, maybe I'll stick around and watch some of those. That person who checks out the channel, they probably just don't even subscribe. The people who do subscribe from watching the viral video, because they're like, that was awesome. They subscribe, but they don't watch your other content. And so the audience profile stays right here and you end up with a bunch of dead subscribers who don't watch your other content. And so when you publish your next video, and that next video is somewhere in here, YouTube tries to show it to all these people, and those people don't care. So that video just dies. In fact, we have seen over and over and over and over and over again from people that they have one video go viral and their channel just plateaus. Also, it's hard to replicate that because I drew that circle a little bit wrong. YouTube knows that that video went really well, but they don't know really who the audience profile is, so it might end up actually being this. And so when you make your next viral video, and you make it right here, YouTube's not showing it to the right people. Having a video go viral when your channel is not intended to be that type of channel can actually do a lot more harm than good. And this is why. It's because now you've just confused the YouTube algorithm.
And I think it's important to make the distinction between a viral video and one that just does exceptionally well for your channel. Right. And maybe we can erase and then show that, because I think it's important to know, like, when you do a viral video, like you said, it's gonna confuse the algorithm, your audience profile is gonna be messed up, and then your videos aren't gonna be shown as you continue to create. But with a video that just does exceptionally well, it's still close enough to your other videos that your videos in the future will continue to do well. And I think it's really important to frame, as we talk through all of these different scenarios, it's important to know what growth and success actually is.
Yeah, we keep saying like
a
a successful video or an unsuccessful video. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, if you're a channel and your baseline views are 500 per video, then a successful video would be like 600 views baseline, or maybe 700. Like, it doesn't have to be huge. You don't have to get a 10,000 view video for it to be successful. Generally speaking, I think success is just growth in an upward direction. Day over day, week over week, month over month, you're getting more views than you did before.
Yeah, and one thing we need to keep in mind is that the YouTube algorithm is generally going to make it stay that way. So here's what I mean by that. On a channel that we started a few years ago, we had several videos that we published that they did well in the beginning, but well for, again, a brand new channel. We're talking about hundreds of views in the first month, maybe. Some of those videos today on that channel, the channel that's been around for over a few years now, that has videos with millions of views on it. The top 20 videos on that channel, at least half of them were made in the first 6 months of that channel's existence. So you can make a video that has the potential to do incredibly well, like hundreds of thousands or millions of views, and you can put it on a brand new channel and it won't do that well in the very beginning until YouTube figures out the audience. Those videos, as long as the content is evergreen, meaning it's still relevant later, YouTube will continue to promote that video over time. And many of those videos now have hundreds of thousands or millions of views on them. Videos that were some of the very first. We're talking like the first 5 to 10 videos on that channel.
Okay, now just a minute ago I said that we would show an example of what just a very good video for your channel looks like that's not necessarily explosive or viral. So maybe let's show that really quick.
Yeah.
And then there's something that we really need to talk about, and it's been on the board the whole time, and before we move on to other sizes of channels, we need to kind of give it a little bit of airtime.
So first of all, in order for video to be really successful, the channel lens isn't what determines the success. The channel lens is where you're focusing your energy. But what determines whether or not a video succeeds is whether or not your video fits an audience profile that YouTube understands, and that audience profile has an audience. Like there's enough people on YouTube who fit your audience profile, which is why we want to grow the audience profile over time. So if your audience profile looks like this right now, and you make a video that does well, it fits within that audience profile, it's going to tend to spread more. So what that looks like is people watch this video, and some of those people are the same people that watch this video on this other channel, and this video on this other channel, and this video on this other channel. We touched on this a little bit earlier, but it turns out that this is person number 1. Person number 2 that watches this video also watches this video, or ones very similar to it, ones that YouTube has found correlate to it. They don't watch this one, but they watch ones like this. And then there's a third person that watches this video, and this one, and this video over here, and maybe this video here. You see what's going on? YouTube is figuring out what other videos on YouTube correlate to yours. And if this channel is already more established and has a bigger audience, then YouTube can take the audience profiles from these videos and it can start showing those people your video and use that to grow your audience profile. That is what happens when we get a successful video, is it takes your audience profile, makes it bigger, and gives YouTube substantially more data to work with, so every video going forward does better.
Yeah, we talk a lot in the office, some of the language we use is like, you have a base hit video, right?
Right.
It performs well with YouTube's understanding of what your audience is. And then since that happened, YouTube starts to identify these other audiences that it works well with.
Okay, but once again, we need to come back to this. This is one of the, I think, the best tools for channels who are struggling.
This is one that we did not talk about at all last year. Yeah. And I think that this is so big for small channels. We've seen it time and time again. When YouTube is struggling to identify who your audience is, this can be the key to unlock, or to at least help YouTube get a head start on that process.
We talked about in the very beginning, YouTube is having to experiment, and they're doing it conservatively. And when we say that, we're talking about the majority of the YouTube algorithms. They have several. We're talking about the suggested videos, the up next, all of those recommendations, the homepage, all of that. Videos on new channels, they're gonna show up just pretty conservatively. With search, YouTube's just trying to find the video that seems to be the best fit for what somebody typed into search. And YouTube is the second biggest search engine on the planet, and YouTube videos regularly show up in the #1 biggest search engine on the planet, Google. So when we make a video that directly also answers something that people are likely to search on the internet, our videos get shown no matter how small our channel is. Whenever you see a channel that's got a video with 300,000 views, but like 1,000 subscribers, sometimes it's because they made a viral video, but sometimes you look at that and say, there's no way that video went viral. It's because they made a video that answers a question that a lot of people have. And so search can make it really easy for you to pair your content to an audience that's looking for that kind of information, and it gives YouTube quicker, earlier data. So that's why search can be so powerful. We'll have to make more content. We talk about this a lot in Project 24. We'll have to make more content about how you can actively use search to be able to feed this information to YouTube and get early views to your channel.
I think it's also important to realize, like, there's a lot of people on YouTube who say that search is just not that great of a way to grow an audience. And that may be true as you get bigger. But the reality is, even though search makes up a small percentage of overall views on YouTube, as a small creator, it is one of the best ways to be shown.
When you make a brand new website, getting your content to show up on search on Google can take months. On YouTube, even on a brand new channel, it can be up within a day, actually ranking for specific search terms. It's the high level overview of how we can succeed on search. Okay, so we're gonna jump into not just brand new channels. We're gonna talk a little bit about large channels, those big viral channels, those really heavy entertainment channels that we see a lot. But before we do, we need to address what I would consider to be an elephant in the room. And that is that the YouTube algorithm is not just based on video topics and how broad or specific they are, like broad appeal versus specific. That's a piece of it. But there's so many other things at play that impact, I would almost say like your slice or your wedge. And some of those we address here in our factors. There are many, many channels on YouTube that cover similar topics, but they just have a completely different feel to them. Some of them, like they just appeal to very different audiences. You would almost consider them different wedges, even though they're on the same topic. So tone and personality are huge factors. Likewise, you can be in a great topic that there's a huge audience that wants that kind of information, but your titles aren't very engaging, your thumbnails aren't very eye-catching, so people don't click on them. And when YouTube does show your videos, nobody's really engaging with them. They don't watch very long, or they don't click the like button, or they don't comment. If your numbers are lower than they should be for your topic, it's not gonna do that well. I have tags listed here. Tags is one that some people ask about, and YouTube specifically says they use tags to correct spelling in their auto captions.
If you look in the Google Doc, or in the
like,
support document.
We don't use these for
like not
SEO,
important.
for helping YouTube know what your video is about. YouTube's already transcribing and indexing all of the information from your video. But the way that people engage with it, if people don't click on your video, chances are the title and thumbnail were off base. If people don't continue watching, chances are that your pace was not right, the tone, the personality, there's a lot of those other factors.
Okay, before we move on, I just have to say, like, guys, this stuff is so important. This could literally be what's holding your channel back. Not completely understanding this could literally be keeping you from getting the views that your videos most likely are so close to deserving. So there's a couple things that it could be. Like, you need to identify, is this an audience issue? Like, all of these things that we've mentioned, all of these different scenarios we've given, is that where you're struggling? Or are you struggling with some of these other factors? Are your titles and thumbnails just a little off base? Are you struggling to get that engagement? Is your tone, maybe you're thinking you're going for one audience, but your tone is really telling YouTube it's another audience. Guys, just take this stuff to heart. Figure out what it is for you on your channel. I know that we've covered a lot here, and it could seem a little overwhelming, but honestly, all of these factors are really important, but there's probably just a few that you might be missing.
And really the easy way to tell if it's this or this. If YouTube isn't even really showing your videos to very many people, still, you've published a bunch. First of all, if you haven't published like at least 20 videos, you probably just need to keep publishing. You don't have enough data, and neither does YouTube, to figure out what's going on yet. Chances are you just gotta keep growing. If you've published a lot more than that though, and your videos are just not getting very many impressions, your click-through rate looks fine. YouTube just won't show my videos because they hate small creators. If that's the feeling that you're having, chances are your issue is here. It's not clear to YouTube who your audience is, and so and maybe you've created a channel lens that's too broad, or maybe you've created one that's too small. And so really the audience profile for your channel lens is appropriate, because you've just pigeonholed yourself into something tiny. So consider that. On the other end of the spectrum, if you're getting plenty of impressions but your click-through rates are really low, title and thumbnail. If you're getting a perfectly fine click-through rate and YouTube's showing your videos a bit, there's a good chance that there's an issue here with engagement. People aren't watching enough of the video. And the reason they're not watching enough, or they're not liking and commenting and subscribing and all that stuff, could be tone, could be personality, could be pacing, could be all of those other factors that we all talk about on these YouTube channels all the time. That's really what the rest of this is about. If you figure out where the problem is, then we can start to address how to fix it.
All right, guys, let's talk about some bigger channels now. I think this model is really helpful for small creators, but also for large creators alike. Like, even as we were using this model to talk about viral channels, huge viral channels, it all still made a ton of sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of times we'll get the question, does this really apply to like really big viral entertainment channels? Because they don't even really have a topic a lot of the time. You know, Mr. Beast makes videos, you know, with challenges about staying in a car, or he makes videos where he's running from the FBI. When you talk about like what the challenge is about, it's like his channel is not about cars. His channel is about challenges. That's what it is. That's the topic. And so you might think that he's all over the board here, but he's not. He's got a reasonably narrow band and he sticks to it. Side note, he says it took him years of publishing on YouTube before he really figured it out. That's perfectly normal. A lot of people just want their first video to go viral and they put everything into that first video, and sometimes it happens. It's just really, really, really uncommon. Mark Rober, I would say the same thing. I really love Mark's videos. I love his channel. My kids watch him. We just have a great time with him. Mark's channel is not about squirrels and it's not about glitter. It's not even a pranks channel. It's a channel about engineering cool stuff to solve a problem. Now, he's made videos in the past about like the size of the solar system, and that doesn't quite seem to fit. And that video did pretty well because it was pretty cool, but notice that's not the videos he makes now. That was one of his earlier videos. It's done well over time, but once he like really set in with like the glitter bomb and stuff, and with his mechanical engineering background, that's like his happy place. He's just gone all in on that, and it does incredibly well. So what does this look like for viral channels, big channels? It looks very similar, except they make their videos close together. Each one slightly different, right? But they're all close together. They have a channel lens that is tight, right? It makes it really obvious to YouTube what they're doing, but each one has unique value. It makes it really clear to YouTube who the audience profile is. And the thing is, this audience profile maybe doesn't look huge, but really the number of people in that circle is enormous because the appeal is so broad. The reason this is drawn as a circle is that the further out you go, the wider it gets in any topic. And that's why it's such a big audience profile, such a big circle. It's because the appeal is so widespread.
Yep. YouTube knows who the audience is.
Right.
And at this point for Mr. Beast, really the audience is all
everyone.
of YouTube. It's like he's gonna show up on, you know, everybody's homepage, all their recommended, because YouTube knows that his videos, while they are very specific, they are wide appeal and nearly everyone will watch them.
That's the only difference. They're doing the same thing. Yep. They're just further out here. Yep. That is not the ideal channel for everyone. It's what some of these people have chosen to do, and it's working well for them. And there's a lot of money to be made on channels that are all the way on in the inside circle, as well as anywhere in the middle. So you just need to pick where you want to be, define what your channel lens is going to look like, and make videos within that lens so that YouTube knows who you're trying to target and can pair you up with the right people.
I think what you just said is one of the coolest things, because over probably the past 10 years, everybody who doesn't know much about YouTube, probably not you guys watching, but anyone who doesn't know much about YouTube thinks you have to be this
is what you have to be.
make money on YouTube. But the reality is you can be a creator here and have much more specific, you know, interest or audience and still do so well. And I think that that's one of the, like, maybe the cool secrets about YouTube. You know, it's getting wider, more people understand now, but it's still awesome how successful you can be even with a smaller channel.
Just pick your channel lens. It doesn't really matter where it is, as long as you can help YouTube understand what it is and grow an audience profile that fits it.
We went to VidSummit. We learned a lot, and there were so many good talks, and Nathan thought of an awesome way to summarize them all, which we put together in this video. And a side note, there was an after party at a trampoline park because these guys are the second biggest kids YouTubers in the world, I think, and they just reserved the entire place for guests of VidSummit for one night. It was a lot of fun. This was my favorite moment of the night. And yeah, VidSummit was just so cool. We met so many great people. I'm really glad we got to go. Hopefully you can live vicariously through us and feel like you were there too without spending $1,000 on a ticket and more on travel costs.
So this year, Ricky, Julia, and I got to attend VidSummit.
Mr. Beast!
That was a long intro. I appreciate it.
Now, VidSummit is a conference put on by YouTubers for YouTubers, where some of the largest creators on the platform come to speak and share everything that they know about
the YouTube platform. Let me tell you, we walked away from VidSummit feeling so excited about video creation, and we want to share some of that with you. While we were there, we interviewed some of the creators that were also attending VidSummit to hear what they had to say, some of their favorite takeaways or favorite parts of the conference that they loved. After we got back, I also interviewed and asked Julia and Ricky the same question, and so let's see what everyone had to say, and hopefully you can get a taste of what we felt while we were there.
Hey channel makers, I'm with Marqueza from the channel The Normies, and she had a really great insight that I just thought we had to share with you guys.
Okay, so us as The Normies, I mean, it's in the name. We don't really look at our data.
Right.
We are not very analytical. And I think that is something that we have not been utilizing at all. We have 700,000 subscribers.
Which is
without
awesome.
That.
Right.
So I'm just wondering where that's going to take us, knowing that and having all this information. So I'm excited to bring it back to my team and apply that in practice.
We're about to listen to John Yushai, has a great channel, so I'm pretty excited.
Yes, same.
Hey channel makers, I'm here with Brad, and we are just enjoying day 2 of VidSummit here. And I just been going around asking people like, what's your favorite part of VidSummit? And I think Brad had something to share with us.
Yeah, so I just saw a presentation not too long ago. It was Jordan Sloth Gaming, pretty big, and I'm a gaming channel as well, Magic Flying Potato.
Very cool.
And just the information he gave was basic, but it was still motivating and like, so when you're kind of hitting that downward slope where I'm at right now, he was motivating enough to be like, all right, once I'm done with this, I need to go back and really work on what my content is and stuff like that.
No, that's super cool. That's awesome. So everybody, gaming channel here. What was the name again?
Magic Flying Potato.
Magic Flying Potato. So I'm from Idaho. Potatoes are a big thing out in Idaho, so we're big on the potatoes.
All right, Ricky, what was the best YouTube advice you heard at VidSummit this year?
Oh man, there was a ton of really good advice at VidSummit. I'll just share a few things that really stood out to me. The first thing that was repeated multiple times that I do agree with, that flies in the face of something I know a lot of you are feeling, is that the algorithm doesn't hate you. The algorithm on YouTube is an approximation of the audience. And so if the algorithm doesn't seem to be pushing your video, it's probably because the audience that YouTube thinks that you have, they didn't enjoy the video, they didn't click on the thumbnail, something that had to do with the audience and how they received the video. YouTube doesn't push your video, the audience sort of pulls the video, if that makes sense. So that was a huge one, and I think really, really key for us to focus on who the viewer is. That brought me to another one, a piece of advice that Michelle Kari, what she shared was to really focus on the viewer and what unique thing do you have that you can provide to the viewer? What's something about you that's different from what most other YouTubers could actually do in their videos? Something about your personality, something about your experience. Roberto Blake talked about this a lot, what's something that you could do where you could put in substantially more effort than others, but not necessarily meaning that you have to do a ton more work, but because of the experience that you have, whether it's life experience or career experience, as well as just things that you've been through, maybe connections that you have, whatever it is. What we need to do is we need to do a better job of leveraging what we have rather than just trying to be like everybody else. Do something that's above and beyond what most people are capable of because of whatever unique skills or unique experience you have. So many other good things. I loved Zach King's talk. Zach shared his story of getting to where he is. If you're not familiar with Zach King, look him up. His YouTube channel is amazing, very entertainment focused. But the big takeaway there is that he experienced so many failures before landing on his huge success. And man, that's so true for so many of us. So if you're struggling with feeling like something is not working, like you're failing, just recognize that this is just one step in the path, and it's only the end of your story if you make it the end of your story. So many more good thoughts going around in my head. I loved everything that Daryl had to say. Daryl Eves is brilliant. He gave a great talk there. Way too much to try to condense down. So my biggest thing for you then is to just figure out what it is that makes you special and figure out how you can share that with an audience and then be very audience-centric. Think about your viewer and make something that they're going to love that almost nobody else could really quite make. You're gonna be an amazing YouTuber.
What's up, channel makers? I'm here with Dylan at VidSummit. It's day 2 here. We're super excited. Dylan, I just want to ask you, like, what's the kind of the #1 takeaway you've had from VidSummit so far?
Sure. I think the one thing for me is I don't post a ton on social media, but just talking to people here and everybody's asking what my Instagram is and what all that is, and just realizing that that's your true portfolio and that's what you really need to be working on. And so doing stuff like this and all of that is just so important for aspiring creators and people that want to move forward in their journey.
Hey, thanks. For me, it's networking, meeting of people, and just the information dump. I got all kinds of notes, all kinds of next steps that I can take to raise the level of my stepdad channel and hopefully benefit my audience better.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Brooke from Grieving Mommy. My favorite part has been just meeting people that I am fangirling about, even though this isn't like a fan event. So meeting the people from Channel Makers that I watch all the time, that's been amazing. The speakers have been great. I really loved Emily, her talk about fan funding and really creating a great community. So it has been awesome. This is my first time here and definitely won't be my last.
Well, I'm super excited for what the day has for us. I think we're getting pretty close to our first big event for the morning. So,
all right, Julia, what was the best YouTube advice you heard at VidSummit this year?
Oh, there was a couple. Okay, so one of them was from Patty Galloway's talk, and he talked about how 80% of your content should apply and appeal to 80% of your audience. And then 20% of your content can apply to 20%, that other 20% of your audience. And I thought this was so cool because for the most part, we're just trying to make sure that our content does apply to 80% of the audience. But I like that idea of every once in a while making some content that applies to that other 20%, and so that they really feel like you're listening to them and you're answering their questions. And that 20% of the audience, I think, could be different from time to time. Another thing I really liked was during Mr. Beast's interview, he talked about how someone on his team used inspiration from a shot from the show Severance. Severance is my favorite TV show almost of all time. If you've seen it, comment below. But I just loved how they used inspiration from a TV show. It's so different from YouTube. And Ricky is also talking about how he's working on a video right now where he is drawing inspiration from Inception. So that video is probably gonna turn out really cool, and see if you can spot which one it is later in one of our future videos.
Well, for me, one of the top things that stood out was something that Daryl Eve said. He just said simply, find a way to own your audience. There's so many different ways you could take that, and I think the way he meant it was find a way to make your audience yours, so that you can capitalize and benefit off of the connection that they have with you and that you have with them. And I think as creators, that's such a smart thing to do, whether you have a small channel or whether you have a ginormous channel. Find a way to own your audience and benefit from that connection with them. Aside from that, my favorite thing about VidSummit was just the inspiration that I felt about creating videos, making content, doing those things that we as YouTubers are doing every single day. It was so awesome to sit down next to somebody who's walking the same path that I'm walking, to hear people speak that are going through the things that everyone else is also going through. It just felt very much at home. It's so easy for us to be kind of on an island where we're just creating for our channel. We don't get a lot of connection with people in our industry. So it just felt so nice to be around people who got it. It was so inspiring and so exciting and reinvigorating for me to see people doing what I'm doing and to put that pressure on me to keep growing and improving and becoming better. I'd love to hear what inspires you to create and to continue creating even when it gets hard. Let me know down below what inspires you. Thanks guys for watching.
But the fun didn't end at VidSummit. One day I decided to work from home and something truly incredible happened. Jake was shooting this thumbnail with Cody. Here's some behind the scenes shots. And a guy came in with an Amazon delivery while Jake was in a rather compromising position. I really regret that I had to work from home and miss that. Maybe. I regret that I had to miss the Amazon guy's reaction, I'll put it that way. But yeah, it's a really good video. Jokes aside, so let's watch it.
Have you ever produced, uploaded, and published a video that never seemed to take off like you'd hoped? Ever thought that all you need to do is get your video in front of more people to find your audience? Well, many creators have found the secret. This might seem obvious, but you'd be amazed at how many people still aren't taking advantage of this. This is Jake with Channel Makers, and today our topic is Shorts. YouTube introduced Shorts to the US market back in March of 2021. And in the 2.5 years that have passed, YouTube has seen a massive increase in the amount of Shorts being viewed. In fact, we're seeing that the demand for Shorts is far outpacing the supply. Now, for everybody that paid attention in econ, you'll know that that means opportunity for creators. That unsatisfied demand for Shorts might be your golden ticket to getting your videos recommended by YouTube and getting your hidden gems discovered by the masses. Now, just to give you an idea of the growth that there's been to Shorts, take a look at these figures. All right, so in the last quarter of 2020 is when YouTube first released Shorts, but only in India. TikTok had just been banned in India, so YouTube saw their opportunity and took it. Right out of the gate, YouTube saw 3.5 billion daily views that first 3 months. The next quarter, that number almost doubled to 6.5 billion daily views. Fast forward 6 months, quarter 3 of 2021, so July through September. Now, that July is when Shorts were released to the entire world instead of just this test market. Within that first quarter, Shorts views grew to 15 billion daily. Fast forward 6 months and that figure doubled to 30 billion daily views. Then a year after that, in the first quarter of 2023, those Shorts views got up to 50 billion daily. Now, with this crazy increase in views, or in economic terms, demand, that creates much more room for supply, which is super exciting as a creator. This results in your short being shared with a much broader audience than your long form content, partially because people are able to watch more shorts per hour than they're able to watch long form, resulting in them watching more videos and getting a broader range of videos YouTube decides to put in front of them. You'll notice when you watch a long form video on YouTube that typically the next recommended video is on a very similar topic. But when you watch Shorts, they tend to mix up the topics quite a bit to keep the viewer entertained, instead of just pigeonholing you into a single subject like lawn mowing videos. To be honest, I never would have known how much I enjoy watching a hyperlapse of an overgrown lawn being mowed until I started watching Shorts. I certainly never searched the topic, but now that I've seen it and I know that I enjoy it, I'd probably be willing to watch a long form video on the subject. This helps to illustrate my point that you might have a gem that people just aren't searching for because they don't know how much they are going to enjoy it until they experience it. So anyways, YouTube will show Shorts from channels or topics that you've never seen before. If you remember back to our algorithm video, you'll remember that there's an audience profile that YouTube's always trying to establish for your channel, basically figuring out what type of viewers like your content. The system does this by categorizing the types of videos that viewers watch, how long they watch them, etc. But the algorithm can only judge how successful a video is with an audience by testing it with that audience. With Shorts being on a continuous feed that viewers just swipe through, they're usually not picking every short that they watch. It just ends up next in their feed. This creates the perfect testing ground for the algorithm to find new viewers that'll appreciate your content. If someone decides to stick around for the majority of your short, that tells the algorithm that this is the right type of content for that viewer. Then it puts your short in the feed of other viewers with similar interests to test it out with them. As your short reaches people that really like your style, they then decide to go watch the full video that you have linked. If they decide they like that too, then bam, you got yourself a new subscriber. Keep in mind that the purpose of creating these shorts from long form is to help your content to be discovered. I'd say that creating shorts out of your long form content, when done properly, is a great way to set a hook into new viewers. But since you're just repurposing your current content, you don't run the risk of confusing the algorithm by getting subscribers that are only interested in your shorts, since your shorts are just a highlight of your long form content, especially if you can edit the short in a way that leaves the viewer wanting to see more, since that's what'll lead them to watch the full video. We've seen this work awesome for podcasters that are able to pull out key moments of their conversation that are most captivating and get those spread to a wider audience than just those watching the full podcast. With as much long form content as there is out there, it can be tough as a new creator to get people to even give you a shot, since most people already subscribe to 100 other channels. That's where Shorts help create that opportunity for you to shine. Now you might think, yeah, it's easy for podcasters to find a small section of their video that's interesting to turn into a short, but my channel's something completely different. Well, let's look at some other channel types and see how they use this strategy. Here we have Michelle Lancer, who has a women's fashion channel that's only about 6 months old as of this point. In a comment she made a while back, she said, I posted my first video 6 weeks ago, and I have 790 subscribers now. I do believe that Shorts is what helped people to see what my channel is about. So for her first 6 weeks, she was getting about 131 subscribers a week. Now, I went back to go check up on her progress, and she's up to about 2,600 subscribers after 6 months. Now, everyone's fear when leaning on Shorts to create subscribers is that you're not going to get loyal subscribers that are going to stick around and watch your long form content, since That's where the ad dollars are. That being said, when I broke down the views on her last 10 long form videos, she's getting about 5,300 views per video relative to 2,600 subscribers. Now, keep in mind that's an average, and in that time period, she had a video that got 16,000 views. But even her underperforming videos are getting a view count that's about a third of her subscriber count. Then her breakout video got 6 times her subscriber count. And keep in mind that breakout video is only 2 weeks old. So I think it's safe to say that those subscribers she gained aren't dead subscribers. Let's take a look at one other channel that offers something completely different. Here's SlideSkill that posted a comment 5 months ago saying, just reached the 3,000 milestone after 3 months. 50 plus videos in, and the first ones are starting to take off. Feels great to be honest, but I'm trying not to focus on the subscriber count too much. Fast forward to today, 5 months later, so 8 months total of posting on YouTube, and he's at nearly 60,000 subs with 95 videos. 3 of his long form videos have over 100,000 views. 10 more videos with over 10,000 views. His average view count per video is 14,000, which when compared to his subscriber count of 60,000, he's getting about a quarter of the views per subscriber. So again, not a dead audience. Of his 95 videos, 30 of them are shorts. So about a third of his catalog are shorts. Now, here's something I found quite interesting. His first 10 shorts were all getting about 1,000 to 3,000 views. Then his next 10 shorts were all getting between 3,000 and 13,000 views. Then his 10 most recent shorts are getting an average of 194,000 views, with the most popular reaching over 1.2 million views. What a staggering increase in views, because he proved to the algorithm that there were viewers for his style of content. I've got to tip my hat to these 2 creators and say job well done. They put in the work, they executed a thought out strategy, and they are now well on their way. My favorite point in all this is ROI. Again, sounding like an economist, but many of the shorts that these creators made are made out of footage from their long form videos. They simply trim up their footage in such a way that it creates interest, but leaves the audience wanting more. Without outlining and producing a whole nother video, they're able to produce a short that's able to catch the viewer's attention and bring them back to their catalog of content. Much easier than creating a whole nother video that may or may not even get recommended. With shorts, you can almost guarantee that your video is going to be put in front of someone. Then the algorithm's able to use those metrics to further push your content to the right audience. Also, when I consider the current state of YouTube and the direction that viewers are going, I can only imagine that YouTube's gonna have to figure out a way to better incentivize creators of shorts if they want to stay the dominant platform over, say, TikTok and Instagram. YouTube already came out with a $100 million Shorts fund, and also started including ads in between shorts to help monetize that content, but we can still say that there's a long ways to go. So we can already see that YouTube is creating solutions to help monetize short form creators, but I can only imagine that the increase in demand for those shorts is also going to increase the value of those shorts to YouTube. So this may be your opportunity to get in on the ground floor before shorts become even more competitive. It's really interesting to see the analytics on how these are being pushed. There's almost always an immediate push, a plateau, and then another push. I have my suspicions as to why this is, but let me know what you think. Until next time, this has been Jake with Channel Maker. All right, that's a wrap.
But Jake had some really good takeaways for this video, and the shorts are still hanging in his cubicle as a reminder. I missed the wrong day. So Jake and I cried with the pizza, but this guy does not cry, and he does not allow any crying. So watch this video only if you can get through it without any crying.
What's up, channel makers? Today I'm here to answer the #1 most important and most frequently asked question on the YouTube platform.
Want to buy YouTube Premium?
Okay, all jokes aside, that's not probably the most important question, but come on YouTube, do you have to ask me every single time? I said no last time, and the time before that, and the time before that. I don't think I want YouTube Premium right now. So let's get into this video. There are thousands and thousands of elements that make a successful YouTube creator. Just like if you were a singer or a professional actor, there are all those thousands of things that come perfectly together to make you successful. For many of us, becoming successful on YouTube is just a matter of improving little by little.
2633, 2634, 2635, 2630.
And then at one point, we'll have enough of these thousands of things come together perfectly for us to be successful. So today I'm going to help you identify what some of those things are. Some of you so kindly offered to be roasted on my community post that I made on the Channel Makers YouTube channel, where I promised I would ultimately and completely destroy your videos. Oh wait, before we get into it, there are a couple rules. I established these rules when I did the roast on the other channel, but I actually don't remember all the rules, but there were 2 that I do remember. The #1 rule is that these are not comprehensive reviews of a video. I'm pulling a few things out of each video video, hopefully for it to be a little bit fun, but also to point out things that are common mistakes. So again, these are not overarching reviews, they're just a couple things that I'm pulling out. And rule number 2, no crying. If I'm being too mean, no crying. If you feel like what I said wasn't right, no crying about it. If you didn't get your video picked, no crying about it. Really, the only option is to not cry here. Okay, so the first one that I want to review today is on the channel DIY Read. DIY Read has 20,500 subscribers and 255 videos. And the video that I chose to review today was this video, AutoCast Picasso 2 CarPlay AI box review, stream movies and TV shows in your vehicles. Okay, the first thing here that I want you to notice, and we're actually just gonna watch a little clip of the video here. We're gonna watch up to like maybe the first 30 seconds. So bear with me while we watch and I'm gonna explain what I'm looking at. I wanna see if you notice it too.
This device plugs into your USB port on your CarPlay or Android Auto enabled vehicle and allows you to play videos and use apps using an Android OS overlay on your vehicle's radio.
Okay, I love what he did right there. I'm just gonna break it down kind of step by step. He gave just like this very brief overview. It's almost like a little bit of a hook into the video. Okay, let's keep watching.
So 2, Android AI box. What's up YouTube? Welcome back to DIY Read. My name is Reed, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. On this channel, I cover a range of topics, including tech reviews, home automation, and how-to videos for both home and automotive.
Okay, for there it was about 10 seconds where he did kind of like this channel overview, here's what we do here, that sort of thing. 10 seconds out of the first 27 seconds. So Reed, the first thing that I would recommend here is that you just either trim that down to like 2 to 4 seconds, or honestly just get rid of it completely. It's okay to have a little bit of that. Honestly, I would probably just use like a splash screen or something that in quick, like in just a small amount of text or something shows everything that you do. Or, you know, maybe you have videos in this splash screen, maybe 2 to 5 seconds kind of whizzing in and showing different types of products you review or different DIY products that you do. I just think that there's probably, and this is just a guess, there's probably some amount of drop off that happens at the beginning of your videos just because of that. And so that's probably the first thing that I would take care of. The one other thing that I would bring up as I watched this video, and I'll watch maybe a little bit of a clip here. I really like, Reed, that how you present as just like this normal kind of average dude. You just present the information well. And I think that's good. But as I looked through your entire channel, I know I cheated a little bit. I looked outside of this one video, but you've had some really big videos here. Over the years that you've been on YouTube, you've had some significant videos. And while your subscriber count is good, and while you have decent view counts on your videos, I would expect it to be a little bit higher. And I think the reason for that is just that as you present your videos, you do a great job bringing forth the information, but I just don't get a ton of personality. And I think that if there was a little bit more personality and a little more of a connection element with your audience, you'd probably have a much better opportunity to retain some of those people, get them to subscribe, get them coming back to watch your videos long term. I think that that's something that you probably do to some extent, but I would just level it up a couple notches. I think that that would really help. All right, guys, before we go on, if I wasn't mean enough there, let me know in the comments. I can definitely try and be meaner. This is not my thing to be mean. It's probably a little ironic that I call it a roast, but I'm just gonna hopefully be helpful here. All right, let's look at this second channel here. This channel is called Rapid Hedgehog Animations with 12,000 subscribers and 114 videos. All right, so the video that I reviewed on this channel was called Boar Sneaks into the Bar Instead of Work/Grounded. Okay, number one, to give a little bit of context, this is like a cartoon series of what it looks like. So these are like almost little cartoon episodes. So there's a beginning section here for probably the first 30 to 45 seconds of the video. As you can see, it's like showing the characters that are gonna be starring. So you have Cody, and then you have Daisy. So you can kind of imagine you're watching like an old television show and you're getting these introductions. The problem is, I just don't know how well this works on YouTube. What I will say is that by looking at the age of this channel, the videos that you've produced, and the views that you're getting, the subscribers that you have, it looks like you've had some good success here early on. But I just wonder if you trim down this section, again, this intro section is so critical, especially on YouTube, that if you got it trimmed down from maybe 30 seconds or 40 seconds to like 15 or 20 seconds, if you would just retain that many more people who weren't willing to stick around for this super, super long intro. That would be my kind of number one recommendation. And the reason that I hit on these intros on these first two videos, and probably honestly I'll mention a few more in these upcoming videos, is because the introduction, the first 5 seconds and then the first like 30 seconds is so key to keep people retained on your video. And so we really want to focus there on these first few seconds to get it as streamlined and as optimal as possible. All right, the next thing that I would recommend, I had a timestamp here. It's 1 minute and 35 seconds. So I'm gonna give a little bit of an explanation, then we'll watch a bit of the video here so that I can kind of show you what I mean. So
like I said, this is a kind of a cartoon animation, what looks like series. The biggest problem that I have with these videos is the AI voices. And so we're gonna listen here and I'll kind of give you an idea of what that sounds like.
I want to go to the barn. 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 I want to go to the barn.
Okay, you get the idea. So it's just like this totally generic AI voice that doesn't really do human inflection. It sounds like a total robot. And all of the character voices sound like that. I just wonder how much more success you could probably have if you used at least an AI voice that sounded like a real human. I know that maybe a service like that maybe costs some money, or as an alternative to that, actually having someone voice these character voices would be so awesome. I think you have such a cool concept here, and the fact that it's working as well as it is, I love that. I mean, you posted this video 4 days ago to get 13,000 views. That's crazy, especially given the age of your YouTube channel. So I just think that you have something really good going on. I think that a small optimization like that could be really, really big. So I would definitely give that a try. And then as you go, there were a couple parts as I watched the video and kind of watched the story, there were a couple parts of the script that maybe felt a little slow or repetitive. But overall, I think you're doing a decent job here. I just think that a couple little tweaks, like I mentioned, would make a huge difference and could probably increase the speed of your success up a lot. All right, next up we have the channel Alexander Kislov. And this channel looks to be somewhat of an automotive kind of car focused channel. I watched a few of the videos, so we're gonna review this video here, this most recent video, how to recharge your cold air intake filter, clean and re-oil. Okay, so this video was posted 2 weeks ago, 116 views. We have 815 subscribers on the channel and 147 videos, with I believe a good number of them being short form. So kind of a little bit of a channel overview there. Let us take a look at this video. Again, we're gonna watch probably the first, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds, and then we'll kind of do a reaction as we go so that you guys can kind of get some context, and then I'll share my thoughts.
If your reusable air filter is dirty, don't be sad. Be glad. Because now we have the K&N Recharger Kit. So stay tuned to find out how clean your air filter can get. So for today's little project.
Okay, this intro here I'm like torn on. The intro, I love that there's some personality here. I love that it's a little bit funny. You say something kind of a little bit funny, and I just love that. I think that your personality is really cool, and as I watch through some of your other videos, I can kind of see that bleed through. I do think that the intro could be a little more snappy. You have kind of this good intro, you know, you're walking out by the car, you have the hood up, you're doing all this, you're showing the product that you're gonna be using, but I think you could still make it a little more snappy while using your personality and having a little bit more fun with it. One other thing that I would say is maybe try and do some sort of hook. I watched the video and saw that you cleaned the air filter really well and it looked really, really brand new. Maybe hook them with that at the very beginning and show a little clip of that and then go into this is what we're gonna be doing today or whatever. But also, people read the title, they know that this is how to recharge your cold air intake filter, clean and re-oil. So they already know that that's gonna happen, so you don't need to spend a ton of time explaining that to them because they already know what they're here for. And so maybe you can give a little bit of detail or a little bit of an intro, but just make it a little bit more snappy. And then the second thing that I would bring up, and I want you guys to listen to this again, the transition from the intro to actually the meat of the content. There's just this shift in energy that I felt that I want to see if you guys notice. So let's watch it again.
So stay tuned to find out how clean your air filter can get. So for today's little project, we're gonna be cleaning this air filter.
Okay, did you guys hear it? So it's kind of like excited, doing this kind of fun voice and doing all that. And then it's just, okay, today we're gonna be doing this and this. So most likely, and maybe I'm wrong here, either you were kind of speaking into the microphone as you were recording, or you came back and did some voiceover. It's hard to keep up the energy. It's hard to match the energy maybe in an intro where you were, a little bit more engaged. But try and keep that energy up a little bit. I mentioned a little bit earlier on, I think the first video that I reviewed, that personality and having that connection is really valuable. I think you did a pretty good job of that in the intro, but I'd love to see that carry on throughout the rest of your video. And finally, the one other thing that I would mention here is there was a shot that you had where you cleaned the air filter, you sprayed the stuff on it, and then you said you gotta let it soak, but then you started washing it off. Now, as you washed it off, you were kind of talking over the top. Something that you could do to just make this, just to give it a try. I don't know if you think it would make your content better, but I've seen it improve some people's content, is where you just do the task, you film the task,
And then later, you go in post, you can voice over, you can speak into your microphone and voice over what's happening, or you can do a talking head and then you just insert the video of you doing the thing as B-roll. The reason that I would recommend doing this, or at least giving it a try, is a lot of times when we're doing something and talking at the same time, we're trying to fill the time while we're doing the thing, and so we end up being a lot less concise, and we just kind of, sputter on, we just say a bunch of things that don't necessarily need to be said. So that could potentially help your video just be more concise and more helpful. But overall, a good looking video here, and it looks like you did a great job on the project. All right, if you guys like videos like this on the Channel Makers YouTube channel, I'd appreciate it if you let me know in the comments. I think these videos are really fun. I love looking at videos that you guys are making to see how and what you're doing, to see what's working, to see what's not working, and then to hopefully bring back some learnings as I watch through your videos. So if you like these style of videos, let me know in the comments so that we can potentially plan some more in the future. All right, on to review number 4. This channel is called This Is Me. This is a food, lifestyle, and travel Join My World channel. And so this is 332 subscribers with 68 videos. The video that I reviewed was called White Chocolate and Macadamia Nut Cookies with 177 views. The first thing that I noticed as I watched through the video, it just looks a little bit blown out. It looks like it's maybe a little bit too bright. I can see from the reflection on the bowl that there's a light kind of shining on the area, which is good. We want to light up the area, but it's possible the light's just a little bit too bright. So a couple things you could do, maybe bring the light back just a little bit. If you can, change how bright the light is, that would be great. Maybe you can diffuse the light through a sheet. There's so many different things you can do with the light just to make it a little bit less blown out. And you might also, depending on what kind of camera you're filming on, you could potentially change some of those settings to just kind of bring the light down a little bit. Otherwise, I think the shot is great. I love that you kind of have this great area kind of prepared to show a close-up of what you're doing, but we don't want it to be blown out. It just ends up looking a little bit more amateur if the area is blown out. So try just to make it a little bit darker so that you have a little bit more clarity on this shot. I did notice that there was a little bit of an audio inconsistency between your talking head and then the voiceover. So we'll show that here just so that people can kind of hear it, and we'll give them an idea of what that difference sounds like. Then we'll talk through some ideas to help kind of bring that consistency.
I'm gonna do white chocolate and macadamia. As usual, I've got a full list of ingredients in the description.
Okay, so you can kind of hear the talking head just sounds like a little bit more open. It sounds like you're maybe in a little more of an echoey space. And then the audio of the voiceover just sounds like almost a little, not muffled, but just a little bit more like a closed-in space, maybe less echoey. If you could figure out a way just to kind of bring those two things together, you might consider doing the voiceover in the same spot that you did the talking head. It's easier on the voiceover to maybe control the audio. Maybe we're working in a smaller office or editing, maybe on the couch where there's a carpet or couches, or you may just potentially be in a more sound deadened area when you're doing the voiceover because maybe you're editing the video and doing the voiceover. So try and just make that a little bit more consistent. It'll just make it so it doesn't stick out to the person watching the video, and that's what we want. And finally, the third thing is I would just consider shortening the intro section. I mentioned this in the last video. Your title is descriptive. It's white chocolate and macadamia nut cookies. And so in the intro, you don't need to say, in this video, we're gonna be making white chocolate and macadamia nut cookies. That's already something that's been said, so we want to, get it a little bit quicker. Now, I do believe that you did show the finished product here, which I thought was great. A little bit of a hook, kind of know what they're going to get. A little bit of talking is fine. A little intro is just fine, but give them something to be excited about. Tell them that I do this special thing right after I, bring all the mixture, all the ingredients together. I do this one thing that makes my cookies turn out so much better. Give them a reason to stick around. Hook them in a little bit, and then just shorten up the intro a little bit. I think that will help a lot. And last but not least, we have this channel, Texas to Milan DIY Italy. This channel is 2,000 subscribers with 288 videos, antiquing and thrifting in Milan. So I watched quite a few of these videos, these most recent videos, and it was a little bit difficult for me to pick out what exactly I think should be changed or things that I thought should be changed. But I did find a couple. Let me see if I can find the one that I wanted to talk about. Okay, I think it was this first one here. We have the video here. You guys can see this very first shot. My issue here, and many of you guys maybe can see this, is I just don't love the framing. And I noticed that, kind of in your channel trailer and a couple of your other videos, you do have some videos where you framed out a little bit better, but a lot of the framing is kind of like this. I'll give you an example. Like, it would be kind of like this for me. I'll be like, hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm glad you're here. It just feels a little bit different. It just feels a little bit weird. And I know this is a bit of an exaggeration, but you're a good distance away from the camera here. But I just want you to be a little bit higher up in the shot, closer to the top, kind of use that rule of thirds. You probably want to be somewhere along that top third line, maybe a little bit off to the side. You're doing great. other than that. So just fix the framing, and that's, again, one thing I noticed a couple of your videos that I would really want to improve. It just looks a little bit more amateur if you're, really low in the frame, or, maybe really high in the frame, whatever. So just a little thing that you can fix there. Honestly, the lighting here, you can tell it's more of like a natural light. It looks good. I think it's, you're well lit and that sort of thing. So other than the framing, I think you're doing okay. The one other thing that I would recommend is, so a lot of the videos that I watched on your channel here, you are kind of walking through these different markets and things like that. And I noticed that some of the audio was a little bit hard to hear. So I can tell you're talking during some things, and you're kind of giving a little bit of commentary of what you're seeing, or pointing out specific things. But as you're doing that, it sometimes sound muffled. I do see actually in this video now, I just recognize it looks like you do potentially have a mask on, which I find it's fine, that's great. But if there was a way that you could get the microphone a little bit closer to your mouth, I think that would really, really help improve it. I watched a couple other channels who are doing similar things to you. Your video style and format, it all feels very good. It feels like the right type of video, but I think that maybe the audio could be fixed a little bit. I noticed that some of the other videos were kind of giving more commentary than you had in your videos, so maybe a little more commentary, things like that. But overall, I think you're on the right track here. It looks like you're growing well. You're getting some decent views, and so those are just a couple little things I noticed in these videos. These videos are so long, but as I looked at other channels and I looked at the style of video that you're doing, kind of this shop with me, go to these antique markets and such, a lot of the videos are like 30 minutes plus. And so at first I was like, well, maybe the videos are too long, but it looks like people like this style of videos. There's definitely an audience for it. You might try some shorter videos just to see what happens, but it looks like your audience kind of likes the longer videos, so I'm not going to tell you to stop there, but it does seem like kind of that 30-minute spot is kind of a sweet spot, maybe 30 to 40 minutes. So you might try just kind of hanging in there and see what happens. All right, these are the video reviews today. The roast, the mean roast. Okay, I know I wasn't mean. I just felt nicer and nicer as I went, but I had a really good time looking over these channels. Thank you all, those of you who submitted your videos to be reviewed and roasted. I really appreciate it. It was so fun to make this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned or were able to take away a few things that will help you on your channel, even if you didn't get your video reviewed. And if you'd like your video reviewed in the future, let me know again in the comments so that we can make more of these videos. Thanks guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Did you cry? You better not have cried. Okay, back to the one I was teasing in the middle of the video because it was published in the middle of the year, but it's a good one to start your year off with, especially if you're having any trouble at all figuring out your topic or even narrowing down your topic. There's a lot of good advice in this one. I really hope you are able to start a YouTube channel in 2024 if that's your goal. So check this one out.
What's up, channel makers? We asked you to submit YouTube channel ideas so we could rate and review them, and rate and review them we will. We're gonna be reviewing your channel ideas in this video, and we're going to have a list of them rated going out to our Channel Makers Insider. So if you haven't signed up for that, go sign up for that so you can get that list. Now, Ricky has not even seen these ideas yet. I've kept them a secret from him so that he could give his right off the cuff answer of what he would do with these channels and really what he thinks of them.
So Nathan, you get to give your like well thought out response to each one of these ideas, and I get to just like tell you what I think.
So I guess this is just to make me look good, maybe. We're not gonna go into any of these super deep, so if you wanna know more about any one of these specifically, let us know in the comments so that we can cover it in a future video.
I'm actually working on a video right now to go in more detail on how to make more money from your YouTube channels. And I actually think it'd be really cool to go a little bit deeper on some of these. So do not miss out on that opportunity. Let us know which ones you want to hear more about.
We got so many submissions. We're not gonna be able to cover them all, but there were many of them that had multiple people asking for the same one. The first one we're gonna talk about is mental health. This is a super broad niche. I'm interested to hear what you have to think about this one.
I think the very first thing I would say is let's pick an aspect about it, right? Are we talking about mental health for parents? Are we talking about mental health for in the workplace? I do think that there's plenty of room to expand, but when you start out overly broad, it's going to be really difficult to have a cohesive channel and build a cohesive audience. You really have to find what's going to make you unique. There are a lot of channels about both mental health, self-help, all that kind of stuff, and so you're going to have to figure out an approach that makes you very relatable, watchable. Some channels do extremely well and others I think, kind of flounder.
And as far as monetization goes, I think there's so many opportunities, especially for affiliate. I hear about BetterHelp all the time. I've never actually looked into it, but nearly every YouTube video or podcast that I ever hear talking about mental health, they're an affiliate with BetterHelp. So I think that there's lots of opportunities out there.
And there's a lot of need for it.
Yes,
so.
definitely. The next one is woodworking.
Woodworking is also a pretty broad topic. So again, I think you've got to find something that's going to make you stand out, right? That's going to make you different from other people that are just giving tutorials. So if I were doing woodworking, I think I would definitely want to show a lot of personality. I'd want to have a feel where it's like we're hanging out together. I'm making a project and I'm going to make a joke about something that may or may not have anything to do with the project. Or you could go the opposite direction and have it just be like super quick cuts together, put together, and in the end, there's an amazing start to finish in a very short period of time. Whatever you're gonna do, like figure out what your strengths are. If you have a really dry personality, maybe you should do the quick cuts and stuff where you end up with a really cool product at the end really quickly.
I think woodworking is actually a really cool niche, and it's one that I would probably get into if I had all the tools. And that's actually one unique approach you could probably come at, is like just the tools associated with woodworking. There are so many opportunities there.
Lots of great ways to make money in a niche like woodworking.
Next up we have baking. And now baking is one that I know that Ricky and his family have a lot of experience with. I've tasted some of the very delicate, delicious baked goods there. So I bet you have some things to say about this one.
Once again, baking super broad. I don't think that's problematic, right? Kind of like with woodworking. I think you could explore a lot of different areas of baking. I also think you could make a whole channel just about bread making. Just think of the approach you want to make. What are the strengths that you have? There are a lot of channels out there like this. So again, you need to find sort of your unique approach. But I don't think it's going to be hard if this is something that you do. One barrier to entry, I think, though, is having a good baking kitchen filming setup can be really hard if you're filming out of your home and you have family around. Whereas if you're home by yourself throughout the day, maybe it's not a big deal. So just think about what those barriers to actually filming are and make sure you can overcome them and produce the content.
Fun fact, we actually almost started a baking channel at one point. Maybe there's one in the future, who knows. Next up we have gaming. This is one that I've actually thought about doing. Now, I'm not a gamer, which is kind of the funny thing about this, but gaming is something that I think would be fun to get into. As far as difficulty, I think this is such an oversaturated niche. And I don't say that in a bad way, I just think there's a lot of people who have an interest in it. And so finding a unique approach, and I know we've said that a couple times with some of these other niches, but finding something that you have that's different would be really, really valuable, or just coming at it from a different angle rather than just straight up gameplay. Maybe it's something that's game specific that you know how to do, maybe it's tutorials, maybe it is something where it's just like, I'm the worst gamer in the world and here's me playing these games. I don't know, but whatever it is, I think you would have to take a very, very unique approach.
If you're not a good gamer and you want to do a gaming channel, you could make a really funny channel that's like, I am the worst gamer. Every time you go to play, like there's gameplay and it's like, everybody's like, noob, like, at least that's what they said when I tried to game like 20 years ago. But like, I do think there's still room for new people because the internet is that huge. If you're just hoping to be able to play games and live stream, on Twitch, chances are it's not going to work out very well for you unless there's something really, really special about you and your gaming.
The next one that we have is dogs and like pet grooming specifically. This is one that was actually suggested by you guys in the community posts multiple times. I guess it makes sense. We must have a lot of pet lovers here on the Channel Makers channel. So what do you think about pets and pet grooming?
So, I mean, again, pets super broad, pet grooming. It's a nice way to kind of niche down. Honestly, if I were going to cover grooming, I think there's so much you could do, just a whole channel just on grooming and never run out of content. I think about the guy that does the lawns, right?
Yeah.
Like, what if you made a channel where you literally found the dirtiest, nastiest animals? You find the dogs or the cats that are out on the street, or just people that have them and they just haven't been able to take care of them. Their hair's all matted and stuff. And you're like, hey, can I groom your dog for free?
Yeah.
And then you just film the whole process and you get a really cool, maybe somebody already has that channel.
Probably.
I don't know. If nobody's done that, you should do that right now. I do think, though, that there's plenty of room. There's room for informational, instructional content, how to groom your own pets, but there's also just a lot of room for seeing that process start to finish in a short period of time, I just think you could get millions of views on those kinds of videos.
And I think also, like, if you have a business, this is one approach that we're seeing more on YouTube these days, where someone has, let's say, a dog grooming business. And so they're actually just filming their work, and maybe they're doing it for free, maybe not, but I love that they're getting like the inside scoop of what's going on.
If you can take a topic, right, that, you know, maybe you'd be showing how-to, there's a lot of how-to content on the web, but instead of just being strictly how-to, you make it a little more entertaining, or you build a lot of connection. Suddenly, you take people who have maybe even just a side tangential interest in that topic, and they become viewers. It's like the TV shows we watch. Like, I don't watch TV shows because I want to learn how to solve crimes, right? You watch it for the entertainment, you watch it because you come to like the characters. You can take your topic and reach a much broader audience.
The next one is vintage cars. Now, I think that this would be a super cool niche. I like looking at cars. I'm not much of a car enthusiast, but I think they're awesome. The one thing that I think would be very difficult about this is just getting access to these vehicles. Unless you have a fleet of vintage cars like Jay Leno, that would be awesome, but that's not the case for most of us. Now, there is a YouTube channel that I'm aware of. It's called The Stradman, where he started a channel about supercars. He didn't have a supercar at the time, but what he would do is he would go find these cars and he would just post sightings about them. And over the years, he's built a channel where he just started going to car shows and different things like that and explaining these cars. I mean, he was just so into it, and it was so interesting to watch him explain all the different details that me as a regular viewer just wouldn't know. And now he actually owns multiple supercars because he was just successful on YouTube over the years. So that's one where the start could be really difficult, but the more you get into the niche and involve yourself, it could get better and better.
Yeah, that's another example of sort of that barriers to being able to create content, but you find a workaround, and the power of YouTube is if you do it well, the money comes.
How about jazz music?
Oh, cool. Again, I think we're talking about potentially a really good topic. There's a lot of different angles you could take. You could go way into, you know, playing jazz music, right? You know, finding groups. You could perform literally on the channel. You could just have like a jazz music lifestyle. It could be almost a little bit more vlog style. I don't know, there's 100 different ways you could go. Thinking about monetizing this, if you're helping people learn jazz, I could potentially see some sort of instruction or some sort of a course. Obviously, if you can get a big enough channel and get enough views, then you can make good money just from the YouTube Partner Program, from sponsors.
I would say as a general rule, if you can get the audience, there's probably a way to monetize the audience. So as we go through this list, I don't want you to feel demotivated. If you're in one of these niches and we're like, well, I don't really know how to monetize it. Like, we're literally giving 30 seconds of thought to like what we would do in these niches. So if you have an audience or you're working on building an audience, once the audience is there, you can definitely find a way to monetize them.
Basically, you haven't heard us say this is a bad idea. It's usually just about finding the right approach to the idea.
The next one that was submitted was horror storytelling. I thought this was a really cool kind of unique niche because I thought about storytelling, and actually a couple of you just submitted storytelling, but I wanted to kind of niche this down because this one's just so different, but I think that this one could actually do really, really well. There are so many people who just love horror. I am not one of those people. I think it's so creepy and scary. But anyway, I think that there's kind of this cultist following around these like horror stories. And again, I think that if the audience is there, there's ways to monetize them. I mean, even just off YouTube, having some sort of Patreon would just be like such a super basic way where people in this like creative mindset, they love supporting other creators. And so even just something as simple as that could probably do really well.
For me, it would be about finding the right sort of setting, maybe some good sound effects that can go with it so that the storytelling can be really effective. I would work on being able to tell stories in a really compelling way and work on your voice and whatever else. I also would work on telling the stories in a really interesting way. So you can take existing stories, known stories, and you can just tell them better. Or you can write your own stories, or you can take true stories from the news and dramatize them, make them into something a little bit more just interesting to listen to than a news report.
You could even do like, man, there's so many ideas I'm thinking. Like, you could even do like a reacts. You could like listen to the story with your viewers, but then like, you know how people pause the video or whatever they're listening to and like react to a certain thing, or I don't know, there's so many different ways that you could go about this. But again, I think the following is definitely there.
Absolutely.
Photoshop. This is one that I was like, wow, that's kind of specific, but I think there's probably enough out there that you could do an entire channel on Photoshop. Recently, I've been learning a new video editor, new to me. It's DaVinci Resolve. It's the free one, but it's just something that I've been learning, and the YouTube community that has built tons of videos and the tutorials around DaVinci Resolve has been awesome, and they get huge views.
If I thought about Photoshop, I mean, anything other than tutorials kind of seems a little bit out there, right? But I don't know, maybe not, right? Maybe you could create some video content that it's like kind of sped up, almost time lapse of like you creating something really, really, really cool. And just seeing how to create an amazing digital creation. I think something like that could work. I think even a mix of that and having tutorials, but also having some really cool. And then that leaves room for like a YouTube membership or a Patreon where some of the premium content would be like, see behind the scenes of exactly how I made this cool thing that you saw me make in sped up time. That could be really neat too.
RC cars. This is a channel that I would have loved to start when I was a kid, and even now there's something about RC cars, driving these little vehicles, that is just so fun to me. The biggest barrier to entry for me on this one would just be upfront cost. I would need to have probably multiple of these vehicles, popular ones, kind of mainstream, that maybe I'd do reviews on, or I'd be testing or showing, and they're expensive.
And I don't know how much they change from year to year, like how many new models come out and stuff. But when you are dealing with products where there's a new version every year, it's hard when the version you have is 3 years old. And so you may be constantly sort of having to replace your inventory, especially if you're going to do any tutorial videos like how to make this repair. My brother-in-law does these. He actually has a YouTube channel. It's part of what he talks about. If you do a good job of it and can make decent money from it, it might not be long before people are literally like sending you cars for free. So it's just more of an upfront cost to getting yourself out there and taking an approach that's unique enough and being personable enough that people want to hang out with you.
There's an RC car channel that I've watched. I think his name's Kevin Talbot. I believe that's his name. And pretty much every video he does does an upgrade on a vehicle, and then he goes out and tests it and breaks it. And like, I love that format because, you know, that's the kind of thing you want to see. You want to see these things going off jumps, ripping around, and breaking them is a huge part of it, like you said. And so a lot of his content is showing repairs and that sort of thing. But aside from that upfront cost, I think it'd be pretty cool. Homeschooling and fatherhood. These two I kind of put together. My first thought is that the whole fatherhood side of thing would be really cool. That doesn't seem to be something that I've come across a lot on YouTube. It's probably there. It's just something I haven't seen. It seems like more of the motherhood side of things would be more commonly covered on YouTube. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think the audience is there for that?
I think it could be. So there's a big audience for motherhood, you know, even just like house cleaning and stuff. Women seem to really, and this is a generality, I know I'm making a generalization here, but on average, women seem to really like that connection. And they're willing to sit and watch a video where they're kind of hanging out with someone who's cleaning their house or just kind of talking about stuff about being a mom. I think with fatherhood, men don't quite crave the connection in the same way. It's a little bit different. If it was like a video showing me the cool skills or the cool like activities I could do with my kids.
I would love that.
There's that, you know, that channel that blew up super fast, the Dad How Do I or whatever, where he's just like, you know, these are the things I wish I'd had a dad to teach me. And so he's just like teaching basic like life skills, but really it was about being a dad, or at least having the skills to be a dad. It just applied to a broader group of people. So there's definitely an audience for it. You just might have to approach it in a way that is less obvious.
How about interior design? What do you think about that?
Honestly, I think it's great because it's so highly visual. Most people are not very good at putting together the design. They're better at seeing something and being like, oh, that looks good. I think there's definitely a lot of room to create content around interior design. The trick would be, again, figuring out like, what is the right feel I want for the channel? Do I want it to feel like the audience is hanging out with me? Do I want it to feel like I'm teaching them how to put together a good design? Do I want it to feel like more entertainment, like an HGTV show, right? Where I'm doing interior design for somebody else and the audience is kind of a fly on the wall watching. What's the approach that I want to take? I think if it were me, I would probably take an approach trying to hang out with the person and share information. So a little bit more of an informational, but also really connection style. And then you wouldn't necessarily have to be a professional interior decorator with clients. who are okay with you having a cameraman watching you all the time. You could just be in your home and kind of laying out different stuff and showing principles of good design, but kind of hanging out kind of like a lot of cleaning channels, but with interior design. I think that's how I would do it.
Yeah, I think that I would probably take the approach of like challenges.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really
that would be cool
to see like, I have these 6 items and I need to make this corner look, I want it to be this specific theme or whatever. And so maybe it's stuff that I thrifted, maybe it's trash, maybe it's, whatever the case may be. I think something like that would be really cool because then there's like this element of, is it gonna work, is it not gonna work?
So that's the benefit of having more than 3 seconds to think about your answer.
Exactly.
I actually love that idea of challenges. Okay, I have $100 and 2 hours at the thrift store.
That would be so awesome.
And this is what I'm going for this. Like, what can I do? You could come up with hundreds of different situations, scenarios, right?
Yep.
Some where, it is about like keeping the costs ultra low. Maybe some of them where it's like, I only have so much time, but it's a big budget, right? Maybe save that for further down the line when you're making a lot more money.
All right, and last but not least, we have ham radios. Now, before we talk about this one, we're gonna be sending out a list of all of these ideas and more rated, kind of in a list of what we like the most, to our Channel Makers Insiders group. So if you haven't signed up for that, go to the description of this video so that you can get that list to kind of see what we think about all of these ones and all the rest that you guys submitted.
All right, so ham radio. Most of the content I see around topics like ham radio, including ham radio, are very much tutorial focused, right? Or they're reviews of specific radios. And I do think there's probably still room for some of that.
Yeah.
I think you could take it again further and make a channel that more than just like ham radio enthusiasts would want to watch. Most tutorial kind of channels that are just very tutorial focused, I watch the video I need and nothing else. I'm not subscribing, so the content isn't subscribable and it doesn't lead to lots and lots and lots of views. You just get a lot of search traffic over time. There's some cool stuff people do, the people you connect with all around the world, if you're depending on sort of the setup that you're using. I think if I were gonna do ham radio as like my main topic, I would get the kind of setup and learn the skills to talk to those people in totally random places. I would have a camera on me while I'm talking to people, and I would cut together cool videos of those really neat interactions. And mix in the information about the how-to throughout, but not have it just be a how-to channel.
Again, if there's any you want to know more about or that you'd like us to cover in a future video, please let us know in the comments. We are going to be making more videos about topics that you could create YouTube channels on so that you have a better idea of where you could go. Thank you for watching, and thank you for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.
Wow, if you stuck around this long, thank you so much for being a part of this audience. I've had so much fun this year making content for you guys, and I hope it has been really helpful, not just this video, but all of the videos we've published this year. If you are thinking of starting a channel in 2024, definitely watch this video next on how to start a channel right in 2024, and I wish you the best of luck. Have some great holidays, Christmas, whatever you're celebrating, and a really good new year. Thanks for watching. See you in 2024.